And I want to thank you, all of you applicants, for using the portal.
Yeah,
If you have any issues with the portal, you can always
no problem.
give us an email or something.
Yeah. I got some updated printouts for you folks,
Well, thank you.
but just to let you know, I mean, we've been in front of you for a couple of years now. This subdivision remains basically the same as what you've seen. 16 lots and the 17th is the road, right? We've done, we've added a lot of construction details and we worked out with Chris. But other than that, this is the same project that you've been looking at for a while.
And this is gonna be like your final
Yes, ma'am.
standard, right?
Yep, that's right.
So there's gonna be two of those, just don't take it, right?
Yeah, that's fine. I'll go through what we're doing.
When they say,
Kind of easier for, specifically if you're gonna stamp something tonight.
no, I'm not gonna say anything tonight, but this is what should be stamped when the time comes, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
that and the actual subdivision plats that the
Okay.
surveyor did,
All right.
all right? So anyway, I'll just give you a quick Reader's Digest version of what we're doing here. This is Walter and Mary Chapman's property. This is Hudson Avenue. They'd like to do some townhomes along Hudson Avenue. They're doing a new short private roadway. They will have sewer and water connections for this. The sewer system, we have to work with the Public Works Department. There's certain fees that have to be paid for the hookups and whatnot, but we're aware of that, and that's not an issue at all. As far as the drawings go, let me give you a quick update on what we've done here. This drawing here is existing as it is today. One of the things we've added was we notated on here the different things that would be removed as a result of the project. Like, you know, there's some fence that's falling down, there's some fence around Walter's house that's coming down. This old garage is gonna go, there's a pole that's gonna go, and all the sidewalk in front is gonna go. It's kind of goofy now, and
It's gonna be replaced with.
oh yeah, it'll be replaced with new concrete sidewalk, new curbing, everything to meet City of Hudson standards. We're gonna add a little bit around the hydrant. For some reason, the city has a hydrant in the middle of the sidewalk. The dogs like it, but nobody else does. There's a little walk around there. What I've shown on the map here is, this is the street. We've got some off-street parking. We've got some porous asphalt driveway here. The cul-de-sac is porous asphalt, which helps with drainage runoff because it doesn't run off, goes through, soaks into the subsurface, so you don't have flooding as a result of it. We've got a 20-foot wide T turnaround at the end. We've got a new hydrant at the end, 8-inch water main, water services out the back, so we don't disturb the street. That was one of Chris's suggestions that I liked, so we did that. And then these shaded areas are more or less the buildable areas.
The lot 18 is a buildable.
Oh, lots.
Driveway.
18.
Lot, yeah, there's no lot 18, that's 16.
Oh, 16, sorry.
Yeah.
Is that buildable?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
This is the buildable area, so somebody could put a house in that area that meets with your code. All right, you know, so the water main we just hook up to, there's an existing water main there.
Wasn't there a plan to, because of the slope of the street, to pump the water up? And
Exactly, for the wastewater.
yes,
Okay, so for water supply, we've got a new replaced 8-inch main that the city did a few years ago. And for the wastewater, we're doing their individual pump stations. They pump into a sewer line, so this would be a 2-inch line, goes up the street, and it gets to here, it increases to 3-inch. 3-inch diameter. These are all small grinder pumps that would pump up the street. And, there's a manhole up at Union Street that we would hook into. And most of the work out on the street would be done with directional drilling. So basically, you dig a hole here at the beginning of where we're boring, and then, another one up at the top end of the street where we curve around. But it's becoming more commonplace practice because you don't disturb the blacktop. I mean, they drill from here, and a guy walks along with a remote, and you can go around trees and things like that. So we don't disturb the street.
And have you finalized what your final number of your discharge rate is gonna be?
Yeah, if statistically, I think, 4 out of the 16 pumps would run at any one time, and it'd be a total flow rate of about 45 gallons a minute. If 4 houses were letting the bathtub go at the same time, you'd get 45 gallons a minute. The sewer main out there in the street has a capacity of 4,500 gallons a minute, half full. So it's a drop in the bucket on that street. All right, okay. So, and then we've got other details on here. We've got a grading plan and just showing the driveways and what we're doing there. But more or less, we're presenting to you a code compliant set of drawings for a 16, 17 lot subdivision.
Would they have show us the staging or the,
They have an erosion sediment control, and the lot's big enough, they've got plenty of population.
Did you have a lighting plan on?
Yeah, that's exactly, that was lighting
They
plan.
are not doing any street lamps, it's more of small post lamps at the
Or
bottom.
directional down?
Yeah, like you see a lamp post on a single family dwelling. So it's not a big street light. Is that correct, Walter?
We have city streetlights on Hudson Avenue.
Okay, this is erosion control.
Every house, yard, we have
This is the lighting plan, okay. Everybody gets a light that looks like that. Walter picked them out himself. So everybody gets a light from their front yard, and it should look like a nice little neighborhood when it's done. No big street lights, no night sky lighting. Gonna be a nice place to live, I think.
What's the height on those?
I think we were at 8 feet.
And where they're gonna be placed?
Right in the front yards, in the person's property, not in the street right away. So everybody has to maintain their own light.
Do you have any issues with time blueprints? No. Okay. And was it solved who was gonna take care of the hydrant in the back?
Well, the homeowners association takes care of the whole infrastructure, any of the infrastructure, it's all theirs. So, I mean, if the city wanted to come and flush the hydrant,
Yeah, that's what.
because they like to do things like that, they can.
Or,
Yeah,
and then would the fire department tap into the hydrant if needed? Because in years past, on private property, there was a problem.
oh, they absolutely could use that hydrant, no problem. It's an 8-inch main going to it, there's lots of pressure.
Yeah. Okay. No, I'm thinking about the maintenance of it and flushing the hydrants. There's a reason for that. That's to clean out the lines and stuff
Right,
and to make sure the hydrant's working properly.
right.
So, and years past, as I said, there was problems with another private developer, but that was rectified. So,
Yeah, if you don't exercise the hydrants once or twice a year, you go to use them, they won't work, so.
Was that like a liability waiver problem, and we discussed a liability waiver, so that if I did something that, it's clear whose responsibility it was.
So you're proposing, because part of this, we had a lot of legal things to work out, but we wanted to get a final plat so that we're all referring to the final map.
Right.
Is it your proposal that the HOA will maintain the fire hydrant and exercise it twice a year?
Well, I would think so, and we would also offer it up to DPW if that's a convenient spot for them to flush that street, they could do that. I mean, there is a hydrant right outside existing today that the city uses. There'd be no issue with them using that one. There's a good place to park and they could shoot the water out in the field.
So are you offering it? Is it going to be an offer session?
Well, I think if the HOA is going to maintain it, but I think we would offer permission if they need it in writing or if they just want to go use it.
So the impression I got from Rob Perry was that we should take responsibility, but the city has the prerogative of taking it if they wish, then we would be happy if they were to do that.
So like,
If they'd like to use it, they can, you know?
So is it like they're like having a right of way to this, but right, usually if they needed it too, okay.
Yeah,
And then on your conversation with Rob Perry, are you guys, with, DEC, DPW?
it comes down to this.
What is that?
Money.
Oh,
They have to pay a fee for the tap, which I didn't know, but Rob has given us, I believe we have a letter saying he has no objection to our grant and so I think they do.
The city had to pay into repairing sewer mains. And their deal with the DEC is that they're gonna collect money from new applicants to help pay that back. So Walter is gonna help pay for work in other parts of the city.
okay. Any more questions from the board?
Did you all do a visual rendering,
Visual rendering.
You mean like,
or I don't know what you call it,
are you talking about something like they built?
a model or?
Yeah, we didn't ask for that, but they did show us, pictures.
So, Kenny, Terry, you've been in front of the board for 3 years
Yeah,
now.
Yeah, I know, I'm late in the
At the
game.
very beginning.
It's the same as it was,
Presented a
Yeah.
bunch of ideas.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it's still
We
sort
even
of the
went
same
there.
ideas, but it's important to say this was designed with the city code in mind, even though the zoning maps don't show it, we are, residential special commercial RSC, which is the equivalent of R3, R4. So we have modeled that envelope that he talks about in our designs to fit, so it's automatic.
but visually it looks the same. Okay, thanks.
Any more questions from the board? Any questions from the consultant public? On 612? Questions from the public? How about on Zoom? I see a hand, but
Can't see
oh, you see a hand up? Hi, can you stand up and give me your name?
Sure. Building the house, my house,
Wait a minute, your name first?
Mary Jo Subulich.
Yes.
SABUL.
And you live where?
We live on 44 South Fifth Street. So we're right behind this gentleman's property.
Yes.
And I was unaware that this project was happening for quite a while, but there's been a lot of construction debris that's been put back there by construction vehicles all the time, and I wonder how they can build on top of that, but I'm not an engineer. And we're concerned about it changing the nature of our area. This amount of buildings, 16 buildings behind our backyard, seems like a lot.
Oh, you are late. You're a little late.
I'm a little bit. Yeah, I don't think we could scale it back, or I don't know, and we're also in a historic preservation district, so I don't know how this fits into that.
it's adjacent to the district.
It's adjacent to this. I know. We're just trying to.
Mary Jo.
We got no notice about this from our neighbors, so. And it's been very loud there a long time. I kept thinking it'd be over with, and everyone's busy doing their stuff, but it seems like now it's just gonna pick up more, so. How do we do this?
Well, you
It's kind of as far as neighbors.
Pardon?
Did you have
Yeah,
a specific, what is,
Yeah.
what is your specific concern?
Specific to the concern is noise. It also.
Construction noise?
Construction noise, and also just having 16 buildings back there that we were, this seems like a lot of people, moving in. And also, I guess you are concerned about the drainage off of that property. If you're gonna be paving a lot of it, we wonder if that's gonna go draining in, because that goes into like a ravine. And we're a bit concerned that that will go into my neighbor's property and our property. Where we'll, then, runoff,
Maybe Christian can address the runoff issue.
They are paving a lot, but it is porous pavement, so they're infiltrating a lot of stormwater into the ground. And any runoff is getting mitigated through the swale. Through their swale. New York State has guidelines
yeah.
that, set forth that you've gotta, detain and treat all your stormwater. So they will detain and treat all the stormwater that comes off the site, as part of the project.
It's better if it goes back into the ground.
And that's what they're trying, that's what they're doing. They're doing green infrastructure practices to, infiltrate the water back into the ground.
Yeah.
I just hope your comments will be noted, and if you wanna write it, we can, but, I don't think it's gonna have an adverse effect on the property, right?
Well, we're gonna go through seeker today, but your engineer has reviewed the plans and. There have been a lot of iterations between the last time they were before the board and now, and so. I understand from Mr. Bertram's letter that the current iteration addresses the engineering concerns that have been previously raised.
Right.
And I guess also the lights, I mean, you guys talked about the lights, it'll just change the whole. Our whole back area there will be changed with a lot of lights and. It's gonna change the nature of the area, that's, I guess all I have to say.
I'll make note of it.
I wish what I
Thank you.
happening.
Thank you. Okay, good.
You have a landscape plan to maybe address some of those concerns from your neighbors?
Yes.
Well,
We do have a landscape plan, we've got, every lot gets some trees to start with, and once the people move in.
But I mean, on
Like on the perimeter of the property.
the perimeter that she's addressing coming from East Allen and Fifth Street, their backyards.
No, I don't think we put any trees in the backyard.
so, I'll just pipe in and say, we have been landscaping back there, anybody who's been down to the property. When we bought it, it was covered with junk cars and
Dark.
dogs, and number three, going down. It's beautiful grass and trees now, and we're gonna fit the houses in between. So, the subdivision is just a subdivision, it's not a construction plan, but we did provide the board, and I apologize to the neighbor, but we've noticed everybody, this has been going on for 3 years. And we come every month and we've been put off and so forth, and never called us, we didn't know we existed, to tell you the truth, we talked to.
Our house has been there for quite a while.
But we didn't talk to all of the other neighbors, but,
Walter.
That's all right, we all live in a city, what happens in cities, buildings go up, right? That's why we live in a city. We love it.
I would say it's unusual, it's unusual to require landscaping between single family home uses and single family home uses. It's not, it doesn't have the character of a commercial use, so it's not something that the board would usually do.
I would just say too, it's been echoed in the city quite a bit that we have a housing crisis. Unfortunately, it seems like nobody wants housing in their own neighborhoods. But we have to have a balance so that we can all coexist here, and sometimes that means, yes, maybe that field that you love so much isn't gonna be a field, but you know what it means, you're gonna make a place to live.
We definitely will. Is this gonna be a question about 612?
No.
Nicole?
Yeah.
About 612, right? Okay, Nicole, yeah. Oh.
Hi, I'm Nicole Bedore and I live on Allen Street. And I can sympathize because when I moved to Allen Street, it was dark and wild. And then the WIC came and everything else, and yeah, it's different, but that's part of living in the city, I think. And there's a lot of development going on, and I think the great advantage of this project is that it's a human scale. And it's a community, and people will be a neighborhood. And I think that's speaks a lot.
And I would make a comment.
You sure, okay, what, that was Nicole, and she told me she lives now, you have to tell us who you are, when you live, because we need it for the records. Yeah, go ahead. If you want to.
My name is Bob Powell. I've been buying real estate here for 33 years.
Where do you live, Bob?
I live at 123 Fairview Avenue, and I'm recently in contract for 2 Hooper Boulevard in Hudson. I have many properties here in this town. And my concern, I just heard about this Hudson Ave project, and
Really?
I know that, yeah, I really didn't want to get too involved in this, but I lived at 515 Union Street for years. And I saw much garbage and junk buried in that hole behind the house over 12 years. I saw the hospital bring in stuff, I saw McGuire's bring in stuff. It was all buried. I don't understand how that soil could be good enough to build a project.
We actually had that question, Crystal, do you want to address? Yeah. There was a report done?
Yeah.
Have you got?
Yeah.
So when we bought the property, the state requires that the sellers provide us with a clean environmental bill of health, so they did that. It was tested and it was found, the problem, I understand what you're saying.
I saw cars put that hole.
Okay, I can't.
I mean, I just want you to know, I lived there, I had 7 houses right there on the.
We've done environmental testing, had numerous borings, there was a garage there that handled oil. And they did pour their waste oil down the drains, the storm drains, and when it came out to daylight, it created plumes of pollution, and that was cleaned up before we bought the property. When we bought the property, we actually hired Pat, that's how we met him, to do another environmental assessment. They did a bunch of borings, they found some residual petroleum. I'm not saying we're not telling the truth, but nobody has found the car yet.
Well,
I'm sure we could,
It ain't gonna be,
but, okay,
because I've been born and raised here, I used to go down in that hole as a kid and walk all the way up the other
but
side.
again.
I've
the
sold
whole-
many things, as well as owned all those adjacent properties.
I think certainly the applicant has gone beyond what the DEC would require in investigating the site and reporting here to the board. And the board engineer has been satisfied with that report.
I'm sorry I'm late for this conversation and discussion. And that's obviously here. I have to accept, if they've done these tests and the city is gonna allow this and approve this. I guess that rides on them. Because I don't know how in good faith that they can say that soil is not contaminated. And that's one.
Thank you. Sir, did you?
Yes, my name is Sam Santiago, I'm the owner of 5 Harry Howard Hudson.
Mhm.
I'm almost at the backyard of that property. I've got.
612.
Yes,
Hudson Avenue.
couple of questions as a taxpayer, who's gonna be responsible for that property? Is the city of Hudson gonna be responsible for that property, or HOA gonna be
The
responsible for that
project
property?
proposes a private road which will be maintained by an HOA. So the city of Hudson will not be responsible for any portion of this.
So now everybody else's property taxes that lives down there is gonna lose value on their property because they live down there. And a lot of these houses they're building down there, they're nice houses that are being built down there.
I think that might increase the property value.
Yes, and no, because people are building property down there because it's nice and quiet and out of the city limits. And the statement that the gentleman said here about being in the city and putting buildings up in the city, that's not a statement to make when people are worried about losing value of their property.
Can I just ask a quick question? Do you know we're talking about an area that across from the Little League field?
Yeah, I've been in Hudson for 32 years.
Right.
Not Sam, not the one we're here for, they're on a different property.
I know that.
Okay.
Yeah. But we need to know who's gonna be paying for that in taxes.
Right, it won't be the taxpayers. The
Yeah.
city of Hudson. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Mary Jo, you feel that, no, I want to go to everybody, she, that we have second time. Any more first times, questions? Okay,
I just have a follow-up. I just would like to request, the project could possibly be scaled back. I mean, the building hasn't started yet. And we could just have fewer, we can understand Hudson needing housing and with ours, could possibly consider our opinion and feelings and perhaps scale back the project.
your comment is noted, and,
I just have one question.
Yes.
Did you live there long enough when the property was behind your property also is that big factory. Right, behind you, the property.
Yes.
Across the street was where that big factory was, is the
Yeah.
building still there?
Yeah, you're right, the big factory, yes,
And did you live here when that was operating? I'm just curious.
yes, yeah, we bought our property in '05.
Okay, just.
We're still on.
Yeah, it was just at the end of it, actually.
Should I just say to that, that this is an allowed municipal zoning district, and we actually meet all of the zoning, requirements in terms of setbacks and all of that. You know, I think, Chatham's probably hear the concerns, but after 3 years here, it feels a little late.
Comments are noted, that's about what we can do and what we are doing. Any more questions about 612? Hudson Avenue, 6-12, Hudson Avenue. Okay,
So if the board is ready, you can make a motion to close the hearing tonight. If you're ready to move forward with the project review.
I mean, everybody here on the board got the consultants review, and I hope you all read it, and whatever at the point where, you know, we can move forward if we decide to do that tonight. So I would like to get a motion to close.
I'll make a motion.
Okay, great. And who second that?
I will second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any object? Okay, so the public hearing for 612 Hudson Avenue is closed as of today. Okay, and we're gonna move on to single, right? Or you wanna do it, under.
If the board ready, I mean, we could go through a speaker part 2.
We gotta do sequel on 6-12 Hudson Avenue. Okay? To give it a, yeah, to decide on the. Labor standard, whatever.
Oh, we didn't do it yet. Yeah, negative.
No, let's do it now.
So I can read through the questions.
Okay, now this may have been sent to you, you can look at your email.
So let's just go through it.
Okay, go ahead.
So 1, will the proposed action create a material conflict with an adopted land use plan or zoning regulations? The options are no or small or moderate to large.
I said no.
You said no?
Okay.
Since this is no.
2, will the proposed action result in a change in the use or intensity of use of land?
What is being used as metal? No.
I mean, it's definitely not gonna be no, it's gonna be small
Small,
or
yeah,
moderate to large.
yeah, small and public to that.
But, so you have to decide on small or moderate to large.
I'd say small.
You think it's small? Okay, small, yeah, I can go.
Okay, will the proposed action impair the character or quality of the existing community?
Is that better?
No or small or moderate to large? So impair has a negative connotation.
Okay, so it's small,
Okay,
That's it.
right?
everyone agree? It's not moderate.
Everybody agree? If you don't agree, say so. Okay, good.
4 has to do with a critical environmental area. It's not in 1, so the answer is no. 5, will the proposed action result in an adverse change in the existing level of traffic or affect existing infrastructure for mass transit, biking, or walkway?
That's gonna be small.
That's a small.
Okay. 6, will the proposed action cause an increase in the use of energy and it fails to incorporate reasonably available energy conservation?
Small.
Renewable energy.
Right, I mean, generally, single family homes are going to be a small impact, because they have to be built in the new energy code. Okay. 7, will proposed impact, action impact existing public-private water supplies, public-private wastewater systems? That's not even a yes, that's a yes or no question, not a no or small, but your options are no or small impact or moderate to large impact. These are gonna connect to the municipal system.
But, the Department of, said, no, it's small, yeah. It's not good.
Yeah, it's, you know,
Department, yeah.
we said 42 gallons.
He said 45,
45, okay.
he said it could do 4,500.
45, exactly, so it's, well, it's comparatively small.
So it's no on both of those, public and, private waterways and private.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what
So
it said.
8.
8. Will the proposed action impair the character or quality of important historic, archaeological, architectural, or aesthetic resources?
No.
No.
9, will the proposed action result in an adverse change to natural resources such as wetlands, water bodies, air quality? Okay. 10, will the proposed action result in an increase in the potential for erosion, flooding, or drainage?
No, because you just said that.
It's gonna be
Gonna make
solved
sure that
mitigated through their
it's gonna be
stormwater.
mitigated, yeah.
And 11, will the proposed action create a hazard to environmental resources or human health?
No.
Okay, so then, we have a small narrative proposed that will accompany the part 3, just identifying, where some of your answers came from. And then we have a resolution, if you're ready to move forward and make a determination of significance, grant sketch approval, preliminary and final, and those would be subject to conditions that they need to do more edits.
So can
But
I,
they wouldn't have to come back before the full board, like that can all be done outside of the meeting.
can I get a motion to accept the resolution adopted to determine this significant?
Are we determining that it has significance, like a?
No, so it's called the determination of significance, but your options are neg deck, pos deck. So the
Okay,
resolution would be
yes.
finding and making a negative declaration, accepting for sketch, and then granting preliminary and final conditional approval.
It has quite a few conditions that will be worked out between the attorney and the consultant, but they don't have to come back to me.
In my view, it's a. Negative.
Right.
Negative. Yeah.
Yeah, I know, it's always
Right.
back, it's always back.
Negative is, yes.
So did I get a motion to grant a negative declaration for the 612
I make a motion.
Hudson Avenue? Okay, Randall, can I get a second? Jean? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, so pass.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, guys.
The site plan.
Thank you.
So we're gonna talk about that a little outside of the meeting,
Okay,
because that was just for the townies, right?
yeah, we were looking for a conditional final approval, condition upon, we worked out some
That's
details.
what we just gave you.
Well, we did for the subdivision, I think we just wanted to have, we moved very quickly to get the subdivision done tonight,
Right, okay,
so we'll talk about the next piece outside of this meeting.
will he have to come back for that?
And the public, there's no public hearing required because it's a site plan and all the work is done, it's just a matter of getting a resolution together.
Okay, all right, folks, thank you very much. Hope you enjoy the rest of your evening.
Good night. Good night. You know, go on the portal, you know, it should be together. Everything now, if not, we'll have to answer, okay? Can I, okay? And I get a motion to open the public hearing for 735 Columbia Street. Second? All in favor? Okay, 735 Columbia Street, are you here? No, they're not doing my job.
Well, I mean,
We should, is there someone,
Sorry, do you want to? This is the one I'm gonna ask. Go on, that's what.
yeah.
I can get
Yeah, that's what we had intended. We had to make a submission because we're still working out with the neighbors at St. Charles.
Okay, so
She, you didn't hear the last word, she said indefinitely.
until,
Oh, no, we plan on going to the next meeting,
you do?
October, yes. I will let you know ahead of time if I hear otherwise.
All right.
Thank you.
It's just because continuing every month makes it, you know, just have to stay on the agenda and to talk about it, so.
Sure,
Yes,
understood.
it'd be good to have a firm date for when you're gonna come back.
Okay,
Thank you.
So you're saying you're coming back in October or you
Yes,
want to
that's-
adjourn it until you let me know?
October.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Then I get a motion to adjourn the public hearing for 735 Columbia Street until October. To continue to October, what's the date, 8th?
To October 8th.
8th. I'll make that motion.
Well, no, that's-
Tina, second, Jenny, all in favor? Aye. That's for 735, right? Okay, just want to make sure. Continue to October 8th. Can I get a motion to open the public hearing for 117, 119, and 121 Fairview Avenue, 2 and 4 Parkwood Boulevard and 1 Oakwood Boulevard, which is called the Boulevard. First, second, can I get a second on that motion? Jenny, all in favor? Aye. Okay. There you go.
Sure. Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board. My name is Charles Gottlieb, I'm a land use attorney at Whiteman, Osterman and Hannon, here on behalf of the applicant. My office recently got retained for this project. So we've been getting caught up to speed. We wanted to present this evening our most recent submission to refresh everyone's memory, although I don't think that's probably necessary. It's a proposed multifamily office development at 117-121 Fairview Avenue. There are 4 parcels involved that plan on being merged at some point when the approval process comes to an end. The property is in the GC zoning district. Again, to refresh everyone's recollection, the GC zoning district has no area and bulk regulations, lot size requirements, building height, setbacks, and so forth. This is a permitted use. We are currently proposing 30 residential dwelling units with commercial space. Now, just before we begin, and I hand it over to our project engineer, Jennifer Crawford, I just wanted to reiterate a few things, since I'm just kind of new to the team here. One is I understand there's a lot of public controversy. I understand there's a lot of planning board controversy surrounding this project. I understand there's planning board concerns related to density and off-street parking. I'm certainly no stranger to those concerns of this board. I want to try to tonight to kind of cut through all that noise and really get down to the core issues. The project team has been meeting recently, and we do expect to have a revised site plan. That revised site plan, we hope to kind of bridge the gap from where we are today to what some of, we'll just say, those who don't want to see the project succeed at all would expect. So we hope to find a middle ground that would be both compliant with the zoning code, but most importantly, address the concerns that are out there. So we ask that this board hold off on any secret determinations this evening until those revisions can be made. Issues today, like I said, we want to talk about engineering issues, traffic and parking concerns. We made some new submittals related to those. But before I hand it over to Jen, just a few things to point out. We heard Crystal earlier say the city's in desperate need of housing. The housing that is desperately needed is a mix of housing. Single-family homes, multifamily homes, affordable housing homes. We can't just have one type of housing in the city. It needs to be a mix, especially with all the new commercial development that is emerging in the city of Hudson. We're going to bring a new workforce into the city of Hudson. Those folks need places to stay, whether it be for years or months, whatever the case may be, people all need a place to live. Related to density, Jennifer's office provided some comparables of other mixed-use multifamily projects that the city has reviewed, is reviewing, and has approved in the past. We respectfully remind the board not to treat this application any differently, not invoking any new zoning code provisions that were previously not invoked. I looked through the subcommittee reports that the board adopted at a meeting when we weren't present. One of the things that struck out to me was this notion of the density is too high without any support in that subcommittee report. So I just want to say, we have provided specific evidence that shows the density that is proposed right now, and I'm not saying that's the density we're going to finish with, can be handled on the lot from a zoning compliance perspective from a traffic perspective, and from a parking perspective. And I've preached this before, the city has no off-street parking regulations. So we need to keep that in mind when you're reviewing the site plan or excuse me, the site plan for this project. Another thing from the subcommittee report is the invocation of section 329-18 to say that this property needs to lose density in one way or the other. That section of the code, to my knowledge, has not been applied to any other mixed-use multifamily developments throughout the city. And in fact, if you read that code, it pretty clearly only applies to subdivisions. It talks about this board having the ability to reduce density in the net parcel size of a newly created parcel or multiple newly created parcels. Just to put this into perspective, we're taking 4 parcels and creating 1. On that 1 parcel, we will have multiple units, but it's our position that that zoning code provision is completely inapplicable to the project. Certainly that's up for discussion. We will try to throw out some support for that in our next submission. I know Crystal has submitted some letters and so forth, setting that forward. But I just want to make that clear for the record, that there is nothing unique about this property that would invoke a different density. Again, we look to work with the planning board to find a medium ground here, but we are completely compliant with the zoning code's area and bulk regulations, which typically controls the density on the site. So with that said, I'm going to hand it over to Jen to kind of walk through the recent submission, the traffic comments. I know Christian issued a response to our submission this afternoon, and any other open items that this board would like to talk about.
Thank you, Charlie. So Jen Crawford with Crawford Associates Engineering, been in front of you folks for a few months now. But this time I brought my team with me. They're attending on Zoom. We've done a lot of work in the last month, specifically with respect to really vetting the parking and traffic concerns that you have. Joining me on Zoom are Jan, my assistant project manager and senior engineer, Ethan, another senior engineer, and 3 of our staff engineers, Ryan, senior engineer, Justin, Ethan, and Lara, staff engineers, who've all helped me compile the data and complete the analysis so that we can be really confident in the data we're presenting to you. So in the updated submission, we collected additional parking data. We hadn't collected data since 2023, and to be quite honest, I was very surprised by some of the public comments because it was so inconsistent with what we had found. So we collected additional parking data and came to very similar conclusions. There is a lot of parking available on the street in these locations. We also, at the request of the planning board engineer, collected, we submitted FOILs and collected historic accident data. We found that aside from 2019, which seems to be a little bit of an outlier, from 2020 through 2023, the rate of accidents was lower than state average for intersections of those size. So it's not currently a site of more than typical accidents. And then finally,
when you say there was a lot of parking, yes, you comparing that to what? Like, can you quantify that?
sure, it's quantified in the report. So let me pull out the summary. All right, so the anticipated peak hour residential parking is 28 spaces. And within the quarter-mile radius study area, there were 71 spaces available. And also we are providing 20 residential spaces on site. So there are approximately 9 times the need available within the study area. Similarly, with the commercial parking, we estimated over 2.5 times the estimated need is available within the study area. And that was, I want to be reiterated, we were extremely conservative in these estimates because we had always been assuming that only one-sided street parking is available. So that was one of the updates. We have additional data sets that support our conclusions on the parking availability. And then the last thing we did is we provided additional traffic analysis. We found that the city streets, Oakwood and Parkwood, are currently a level C, so stable. And we also calculated that with our project, there's no anticipated change in the level of service to those streets because the number of trips generated from the project are relatively low compared to the existing traffic. So those were the main conclusions. I understand from the letter from the engineer, for the most part, your comments were addressed. The one main outstanding topic is for us to confirm site distances. We have been working with the DOT on that, you know, we're aware we need to maintain site distances. I would say from our conversations with the DOT, because we have had site visits with them, their main request was we had originally had trees right along the right of way. So they asked us to remove those, in order to maintain site distances.
Did they talk about any traffic control devices? Because again, I know that corner, many of us have been in that corner. You do have to, you know, it is currently at times very congested.
Fairview has a level of, and it was E for it is congested at Fairview. I don't think anyone's gonna be surprised by me saying that, right? And so that is also an existing condition. That is currently the case. So we have responded to the DOT. They've asked about traffic volume as well. We haven't heard back from the results that we gave them.
Okay.
But what we did find was that not only were we not changing the level of service with our additional trips, but we were well within the anticipated natural growth rate. So the DOT has a projected growth rate. So our project was within the expected natural growth rate as well.
Now, all of you got they're up to date in parking and Christian's comments. Okay. Any questions from the board?
Jen, I would like to make one point. I went out today and measured the road. Oakwood is 22 in spots. It might be 23.5 feet wide. So that is extremely narrow for parking. I parked the car on the side of the road. It's 14 feet you have for two-way traffic. You know,
I mean, and that is also an existing condition, right?
correct. It's an existing
and-
condition that you might make worse by.
By a small amount, you know, because we're using a very small percentage of the available parking. So there's still expect to be many spots that one could pull over, you know, if you were to encounter all kinds of traffic.
Yep, and then parking was 25 throughout the entire line. So at no point any of those roads were 26.
What's your peak generation traffic number, let's say in the morning, let's say when people meet discharging onto the road? What's that number of car trip generations outbound?
Trip generation. AM. Is. Residential is 33, commercial is 11. So total is 45. Which is well under what the New York State DPC typically recommends as significant. They usually say about 100 trips is significant, so we're well under that number.
So 45 cars leaving in addition to the volume of cars that are already on the road.
Wait, say that again.
45 cars leaving your property, presumably people who that in addition to whatever the normal traffic is, whatever the normal.
Within an hour, over the time period of a whole hour.
Does that number seem reasonable? Like, I just, again, I think in my head, you know, but you know, again, that's an anecdotal thing, you know, it's subjective for me, that's what I'm asking.
For a project this size, that seems about right.
Okay, and it doesn't seem reasonable for that intersection, but what's going on there now?
Yeah.
Question? Okay.
And the accident data that you have there, is that's for that specific intersection, Parkwood and.
Well, we were pretty conservative. It doesn't come to us just as that intersection, so it comes in like a section of Route 9. And so
What's that range?
well, you know, Ethan, do you know exactly what the range of the accident data was?
I mean,
It was 0.1 miles north and south of the project. So think Spring Street to Maple Street.
So, I mean, I'm sorry, it's obvious, but the time period that accident data, when you said there weren't a lot of accidents, was during COVID when school was closed, right? Is there, I mean, how does it compare? You said it was low for the state. Are you comparing it to other COVID data for the state, or are you just comparing it to? I just need more information to understand.
I would have to check on that. I don't want to say offhand exactly without digging in a little bit, but it included 2023, which was, well after.
Schools were back open.
Schools were back open, right, yeah.
Okay, so I just want to make sure that it accounts for any kind of risk from COVID.
Okay, any more questions from the board? Okay, we're gonna take questions from the public now. Anyone in the public have any questions on, the boulevard? Say who you are again.
Again, my name is Robert Paul. I own 123 Fairview and 2 Oakwood directly across the street from your project. My only concern really is, well, I have a few suggestions first. I think that they should make that a one-way street and put sidewalks in and stop the buses from coming down the street. I think it's, the streets are, as this gentleman said, are too narrow. I'm not opposed to the project, and I'm gonna be living directly across the street and probably have the 2 closest properties to the project. But the problem's gonna be getting out on Fairview Avenue because the traffic, like maybe they'll put a stoplight or draw a traffic light there, I don't know. And the buses, they're too wide to be coming down that street. And I don't know why they can't reroute the buses. To go a different direction. I mean, it makes very little sense. It's like, and they do go pretty fast down there. I mean, I'm right there. I see what's coming through. I'm a porch. I live, like I said, I'm an eye view from everything right there.
So you're complaining about things that are existing now without.
I think the buses are gonna be an issue. And getting out on Fairview Avenue. That's the concerns I have.
Thank you. Thank you. Any more comments, Teresa?
Hi, Boulevard. The first day of school, I was sitting out on my front porch having coffee, and I was like, you know what, I'm out here, I'm gonna count how many cars go past. 167 vehicles, not counting buses, 4 buses.
What street?
Oh.
Oakwood.
And from there, I can see through to Parkwood. Now they are routing up Parkwood now. Instead of going down on Oakwood, some of them, now they're coming up Parkwood, which is congesting Parkwood. That's one idea of that.
Is that,
Yes,
are they still going in Oakwood?
yes,
They're going in Oakwood.
I counted 4 or 5.
But then when you're leaving, they're using Parkwood. So they did change the route a little bit.
A little bit,
Yeah, okay.
but not a lot. And, what was the other? School traffic. Well, okay, so in speed, it's like the Audubon there in the morning, so, there has to be some kind of, enforced speed limit. And I say enforced because if there's nobody there, I mean, how are we going to know? And I would say like 40 miles per hour, some of these cars are coming down, whether the teachers are late or their parents, are late for work, getting their kids there. And I'm not exaggerating when I say these things, it is the truth. And as far as on-street parking, we do have a couple of apartment houses down at the end of the street that there's not enough driveway parking. So there's been like 4 or 5 cars consistently parked out there. So I disagree with the parking analysis for Oakwood. I mean, there might be 4 or 5 open. And again, if they are parked closely by driveways, it will be very dangerous to pull out of your own driveway. If they're that close. And that's about it.
The public do understand that to get the information on any of the applications now, you have to use the portal. Okay, so that you can keep yourself updated. Any more, thank you, Teresa. Comments?
Yeah, let's say, so I'm going to the,
Name?
Kenneth Miller, I'm on 46 Parkwood. I think the road width issue, I mean, the fact that it's 22 feet wide on Oakwood and 25 feet wide on Parkwood, and I mean, that's the minimum, right? That a road 25 feet, 25 feet is the minimum that needs to be. If you have 9 feet wide travel lanes and they're going to it, it's 18 feet, and then you've got 7 feet for parking, that's 25 feet. You're talking about 22 feet, people parking along the side of the road. I mean, I ride my bike with my wife, my son, every day to school. It's already dangerous enough. If cars are lining the road on these narrow streets for on-street parking, it's very dangerous. And it's already dangerous, and it's just making it so much worse. And I have an issue with the fact that this letter, none of our comments, none of the public comments have been addressed or engaged at all by the developer. We're taking our time and our energy to engage with you, but you're not reciprocating that. I think that's disrespectful.
I will just say, when we do submit in the October, I do plan on taking a catalog of public comments and responding to each and every one.
Right, we're gonna upload them all on the portal, so.
Yeah, they're on there, I looked.
Okay, good. Thank you. Ma'am, your name?
Clarifications, what you said about the portal.
The planning board is using a portal now, so when you go on the planning board page, it'll say, please use the blue portal. And if you click on that portal, everything's there, all the applications, all the information. For you to look at for each applicant, and it makes it easy because it's all in one spot there.
Just to clarify, I emailed some comments earlier today to the members of.
Yeah, I saw some comments, but I didn't get a chance to read it, but they will be downloaded onto the portal until we get everyone using it. Where you can download your comments right there to that particular application, right? But right now, our secretary is doing it, planning board secretary is downloading everything. Okay.
Hi, I'm Christy Osby. I
Liv?
I live at 46 Parkwood Boulevard. That is very close to the proposal for the project. Every morning, as my husband mentioned, Kenneth Miller, every morning during school, we ride a bike bus to school. It's an alternative way to get to school from the boulevard where the buses ironically go down but don't really stop at. So we have created a bike bus as a solution, and through this effort, we have now about 10 kids that are joining our bike bus. And we generally have about 5 to 6 kids every day on the bike bus. And the only time we don't ride the bike bus is when it's raining or if there's ice on the road. We are committed to the bike bus. Kids are now not only going to school with the bike bus, they're also riding home from the bike bus because they've aged, they are now at an age where they can ride home together. So we had an issue with this from when our son had started going to pre-K because it was very dangerous to get to school on this tiny strip between Oakwood and the tennis courts. We nearly got hit many times by buses in cars driving very fast. So as a solution, the city of Hudson accepted 2 different petitions that we had many people sign in the community, and they created bike lanes on Paddock
between Oakwood and the tennis courts. And those bike lanes, even though they're just drawn on lines, they have helped so much, and those now exist on Paddock, and not once have they been mentioned. It is in the reports here that are present before, the board. But that is a movement towards, towards supporting pedestrian safety in this neighborhood. We have historically not had any consideration by the city for our pedestrian safety, and COVID changed that. And a lot of people got really interested in making that neighborhood safer to walk and bike and to skateboard. And it also turned from a lot of older residents to a lot of young families. More and more people are walking and biking to school from this neighborhood, and that will be no exception when this apartment complex, when whatever is modified when it goes up, because I am also convinced we need housing in Hudson, and that is a great place to put some reasonable, suitable neighborhood suitable housing. We are, and many of the comments that we have made, that many people have made, do not object outright to this project. What we object to is the thoughtless planning that the developer has taken on, and what their lawyer has reported, and my friend and neighbor Crystal has been counsel on this, and I read her letter, and quite frankly, I was shocked, because the letter that was put on the planning portal today, I believe it was posted, disregarded entirely my concerns, my husband's concerns, Kat's concerns, Teresa's concerns. It said that they were invaluable. It said that they were meaningless. Crystal's letter, my own neighbor, my own friend. In fact, Crystal owns the property next to me that will become housing, which we have supported wholeheartedly, and we still support wholeheartedly. But to have that disregard for the community and the nature of our residential community, it was shocking. Nothing more than shocking, incredibly saddening. We have put so much effort into making this neighborhood better for our community. And now you as a board are being asked to disregard our concerns. Not only is that illegal, counter to what Crystal has to say about that, but it is not the way Hudson works. And so I really appreciate from the bottom of my heart the concern that you're putting into this review and of this application. And I also, music to my ears that you're changing the plans. Please keep my concerns in mind. Please make this a more suitable residential development for the existing community, because it is meaningful. And I guarantee if your children were going to school on their bikes or walking every day, you would have the same concerns as I do. Thank you so much for caring.
Thank you for your comments and all that.
I have a question.
Yeah.
When you said a bike bus, are you talking about an assemblage of bikes?
Yeah.
Or are you riding on the sidewalk or on the street?
Right, so the way it works is we meet at a corner, we meet at Glenwood and Parkwood. I wear a big poncho that says bike bus on the back, and others, other parents and now by Berkshire Biking Board is joining the bike bus in support. He is also wearing high vis. And the adults will ride on Parkwood while the kids ride on the sidewalk of Parkwood. Once we get to Oakwood, there is no more sidewalk. As you're going up to the stop sign at the intersection of Oakwood and Paddock. And we go down on the opposite side of the traffic, because there's all crosswalks. And so we go down, one adult goes first, and then the kids follow behind, and we ride on the school side of Paddock, because that's the best way to get there. We had historically done that because there were no markings for pedestrians or bicycles.
Now there is a bike path, and so we have to go the opposite way though, because there's no crosswalk over Paddock, at the Oakwood intersection. So the kids and the adults ride opposite the traffic, and then we get off at the track.
Well, are you sure that the bike lanes that were created by the city, they are sufficient to provide safety, or they are not?
They are an improvement, but what would be safest, obviously, are sidewalks, concrete sidewalks with a median in the same scope as the rest of the neighborhood, except for half of Oakwood and then all of Paddock. Now, there is a discussion about who's responsible for the sidewalks around the school, but there's no sidewalks around the school. But I am also working with the school on that, and I believe the city is working with the school on that as well, but that does not negate the fact that there are the city-owned property on Oakwood, on Oakwood and, the city control, the non-school owned property on Paddock does not have sidewalks. It would be great if they did, that would be the best option, if they had bike lanes and sidewalks. Or quite frankly, sidewalks only. And then Oakwood, obviously, they have like a mishmash of different busted up sidewalks that need to be relayed. To fit within the neighborhood and to meet safety requirements and to meet ADA accessibility requirements as well.
Thank you. Okay, wait a minute, I'll come back to you and try to make sure everyone gets this. Is there anyone I've been hearing?
Yeah, we have a hand raised by Vicky.
Hi. Yes, hi, how you doing? So it was mentioned before from Crawford.
Who's talking?
Identify yourself and your last name, please. Can you identify yourself?
Oh, Vicky Dascaluti, Fifth Ward Council member.
Thank you.
Okay, it was mentioned before from Crawford engineer that there are 71 parking spaces. Would it be possible to have the map of all where these spaces are? I really wanted to see it, and I think people from the public would like to see them.
They should provide that.
Yeah, okay, yeah, so they'll send that to us and we'll make the coverage.
Okay, and one thing I just wanted to reiterate to a few of the comments.
Wait a minute, she's not finished.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay, go ahead, Vicky. We said okay to that.
No, I think she's good.
You finished?
Are you finished, Becky?
Yeah, I finished. I didn't get an answer though. The woman from
Yes, we can do that. They said yes. They'll do
Okay,
that.
all right, good, thanks.
Okay.
Thank you.
You wanna wait till you get all the comments?
Yeah.
Or you just, okay, so anybody else on there? Any more hands raised? I know, but any more hands raised on Zoom, so it's real. Random, any more hands on?
No, it's all
Okay. No. Okay, Teresa's next and then you, because you both talk.
I just want to say on record that, I don't expect, it not to be built, this project. But reasonably, and, we thought from the beginning that we were going to work together with a developer to compromise, and so here we are today, not having that, so, yeah, just make it smaller, I mean, and safer, not build it at all. I just want to say that's my personal feeling.
Thank you. Sir?
Hi, I'm David Kessler.
Sorry.
I'm David Kessler. I'm the owner of 620 Union Street, where we're developing a boutique hotel. And I just wanted to voice my support of this project, as it will provide the necessary housing for our employees and other residents in Hudson. And it's a short bike ride from downtown Hudson, from Warren Street, and all these new jobs that are doing, simply not enough housing.
Thank you. Comments on that? Any more comments? Okay, sir.
A couple things, and then I'll just leave it there unless the board has any other questions, and we'll come back with our new submission. one of the comments tonight was about how. That area of the city, the project side of the city is biking to school, biking distance to downtown Hudson. This project, and I know off-street parking is one of the comments we've been hearing. That's great evidence that we can't just assume that everyone's gonna drive 3 cars. The city zoning code doesn't require off-street parking because it wants to incentivize people to ride their bikes to the grocery store, to ride their bikes to go out, to ride their bikes to school, which is a great initiative. There are biking facilities located on the project site. So this is a mixed-use development that is seeking to facilitate a walkable community. And it is only through development of real estate that a city is going to be able to get the revenue that is needed to upgrade its infrastructure, to put in the sidewalks that are by the school, and so forth and so on. And the city is headed in the right direction in that manner. But to have all of these public amenities that cost money, it requires development, the creation of a tax base, and then, you know, the goal is met essentially. So I don't want this board to lose sight of that. Those are all excellent comments. Like I said, we will be addressing all public comments in our next submission, and really give this board a comprehensive package along with the site plan revisions that we're tinkering.
And that's what I think most of us are waiting for.
But as a response to what you just said, I don't think anybody's alleging that people are gonna have 3 cars.
Right.
There's not enough parking for 1 car per car. Well, I think it's just clarify what you said.
No, I understand.
It's not enough for 1 car. That's what I'm saying.
It was, yes, I understand what you're saying.
You were exaggerating, right?
I was exaggerating. There is, but based on the parking study that Jen went through, you know, for the 30 units we're proposing now, there is sufficient parking, putting aside the fact that the city zoning code does not require off-street parking, and they do that for a reason, because they want people to not have cars. So with that said, well, I don't know if people like to say.
I just wanna address a few of the comments.
Okay, tell us who you are, because some
Luke
of us may
Hero,
not
I
know
am the
you.
developer.
Right.
Okay,
Name?
and I didn't think being the developer of this project would make me public enemy number 1.
I'm
Oh, you're not
sorry.
town where I grew
I'm
up.
so sorry.
I have a lot of friends here and I understand their feelings. I understand that they want a safe community. They want safe streets. We have tried to design a safe project. We have in fact modified the plan 3 times. We have taken parking off of Parkwood that was parallel parking. We took the entrance off of Fairview. We've come back to the board with modifications on 3 separate occasions. And it's been, we thought, a give and take with the planning board. We held an open house at a local establishment. And it felt right away that there was, oh, this project's gotta go. So there was a lot of, let's just say we got off on the wrong foot from the beginning. We're here to make this project work. We're here to work with the neighbors, my friends, or you that are here. And to make this something that the community can be proud of, that it can help the housing situation in Hudson. I'm not gonna get rich on this project, you know, but we think it can be successful there. And we think it's a good project for the city house.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So, yeah, a motion to continue this.
So, well, let's ask the applicant, they said that they were preparing plans to respond to the planning board. When do you expect to submit them? Is it a month, 2 months? How far should we continue the hearing?
I believe we want it to be set for the October meeting, so we would.
Can we submit for October?
October, okay, so, motion to continue this, the public hearing for the boulevards until October 8th meeting.
I'll make a motion.
Okay, I'll second it. Okay, thank you. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? I want to take a 5-minute break. Please, Mill Street. Okay, we're gonna take a 5-minute break before we go to Mill Street, okay? Close this. September 10th. Okay. Can I get a motion to open up, Mill Street Laws? Jenny, second? Second. All in favor? Okay, Mill Street, are you here?
Hold on, just.
Hello.
I'm Carney, the current realtor. I'm here with Andy Leonard from the CPL, the project civil engineer, as well as Rich DeAndrea from Colliers, the traffic engineer to perform the parking and traffic analysis. Just a few updates from the plan since the last meeting.
Since our August 20th meeting.
Yes.
Right, and they're coming back with the continuation of the sequence, that's, and they're back addressing some of the concerns that were brought up in the meeting on the 20th.
So based on the comments we received that meeting, we've included a bus shelter onto our site plan, as well as Hammerhead. Is that at the end of
Let me see that.
Middle Street?
The Hammerhead, what does it look like? Because I was wondering, what is that?
This shape here, this is one of the standard designs for a fire truck turnaround at the end of the street. We're in the process, we'll finalize it later, but this is a turnaround that we feel would work. Christian had suggested possibly a circular cul-de-sac. We may be able to do that pending, confirmation of final, right away. See what.
Did you see the exhibit over today?
I did, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that way I think you get rid of the culvert, which would probably be a little cheaper.
Well, right.
And where did you put the bus?
It's right here, we have the pedestrian crossing here and the bus shelter is right next to it. We've confirmed with the county transit that if you call within 24 hours, they'll come and pick you up on site. And then if the ridership is enough that it warrants it, they would extend their use to that bus shelter.
What's the big problem that's, turnaround design requires you to back up to. I'm looking at it.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically a K-turn, right? That's basically what it would be.
And what's on the other side of that K-turn?
This is the park over here, the parking lot. Yeah.
But Christian has recommended that they do something different, right?
More of a temporary spot.
Yeah,
Certainly.
I'm just saying, and that's why I wanted to know if they were gonna be possible pedestrians or kids, maybe in that backup zone, would you have to back up?
Right, and we're open to alternate designs. We just wanted to show that this would work. And we're happy to finalize it as we go forward with site plan approval to come up with another design that maybe is more appropriate.
Okay.
Any more questions from the board?
I love it.
Okay, go ahead.
So is the bus shelter just sitting then like next to the street, or are there sidewalks that are going to run out to it?
We will provide a pathway from the end of our pedestrian connection here to the bus shelter.
Okay, and then I apologize, the 6 ADA spots you guys have, is that because there's 6 ADA units, or do you have additional ADA parking?
It has to do with the state housing requirements. It's a ratio that they have. It's a little more, it's actually a strict more, we have to provide more ADA spaces than a typical typical project because of their requirements. I don't know the exact ratio, but this is what's required.
Can they ever be like used? They're just dedicated, because I know parking is something that has come up, and I wonder if they always go unused if there's an opportunity for.
They are dedicated for ADA.
Okay, and then likewise the EV spots for some reason if there's not.
I think there's some.
I like the idea of.
Opportunity there, Yeah, we don't typically restrict it, just the EV parking unless there's a conflict that keeps occurring.
Okay. I have other questions, so feel free to table me if you're getting to them. Some have to do during the construction phase. I know you had staged where I think the drainage pond is gonna eventually be, which will be in the flood. Using the floodplain, of course, because that's why you have it. But before there is a pond and you have the fill there, how do you plan to mitigate to make sure, like, if there's a flood or heavy rain, that the fill doesn't go where you don't want it to go?
Well, we'll make sure that any stockpile material is outside of the full path, you know, that you can see there now. And we'll make sure that all standard erosion sediment control practices are provided to the silt fence, you know, mulch logs, hay. It will cover things as needed to make sure that they.
And then I know you're gonna replace the water main. How long will the other residents on that street be without water? And will they be able to access Mill Street to get to their homes?
Yeah, so we're still working on the design of and phasing of the water line replacement, but, you know, the residents will be out of water minimal amount of time. It won't be a long period of time. And likely, a lot of times, if they are gonna be out of water, bottled water will be provided for a period of time when they are out of water. So,
But you can construct the road and tie it last.
yes, right, exactly.
They'll construct the water main down Mill Street,
Right.
get it all pressurized, get it chlorinated. And then after it's put to service, basically, they'll go through and tap it and make those connections. It's probably less than an hour or two, you know.
And I will apologize, because Christian did send, but he sent it today, his report on those streets, so they get a chance to probably read that a little later.
As far as, the profile view, and I don't know if you might have the page, the profile building to longitudinal section.
I did not.
Okay. I'm just looking at the different stories and where the parking lot lines up and where the hill lines up. What's the overall height of the building? Because I think it says 45 plus or minus. What is like from ground to the top?
Well, I have the elevations here. You said building 2?
Yeah, I looked at that one. I could show.
So from the parking lot, it's, let's see, the highest side is 44 and just a little bit more than 44 feet.
Double the
The
whole
whole
building.
Yeah,
Well, on the parking lot.
on the parking lot side.
And then on the hillside.
On the hillside, it's
Hillside is 33.
Okay. And then is there any window difference on the lower level apartments?
sizes of windows.
I didn't know from building into the hill if that impacted the back.
There'd be nothing below grade, so the foundation steps up,
Okay,
and no, there'd be no changes in the
Okay.
walls.
I thought that was the case, but I just wanted to confirm that it was different for lower. So I know you've heard a lot about flooding and the intersection at Mill Street and Second when that floods, and we've talked about how residents currently who live there, and then certainly any new residents. Any thought to an alternative way to get out if driving up the road isn't a possibility?
Right, so I had a very brief conversation with a member of the city, I can't remember who it was. But they said that it is possible, if this intersection is flooded at Second Street, it is possible for vehicles to drive up the rail trail to certainly, I think the Fourth Street.
Not possible. It's Mill Street.
That's not.
It's got. Other places.
That would be
But it's a big
emergency
street.
access.
But
It's a big street.
can't you also go down Depot Street, when it goes down to the well in the
I wish
garage?
you guys would take a ride down there.
Yeah. Sir, if you continue, if you interrupt us, we're gonna ask you to leave. Okay, so please do, you will get your chance, but we cannot tolerate interruptions. Okay? Right.
Driving up that road, it's called Dunway Road. It was a road back in whenever, and it was not used, but then they made it into a bike path. Driving up that road, okay, it's wide enough. But when you get to the end of it, you're on private property. They had a barricade up there, to prevent cars from going down. So if that-
I haven't investigated myself, this is
If that's,
purely what I was told.
if that's gonna be an alternate route, then you have to find out what happens at the end of the road up on, Perry Howard Avenue. In Choice Street, that right corner.
Yeah, I guess just to clarify. I believe your conversation was about emergencies. Emergency, yeah, wouldn't be our residents using that Empire Trail as.
But they're, I didn't measure, what size vehicle could get through there, but they're preventive measures.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, the reality is Mill Street is in, part of Mill Street is in the flood.
Yeah.
Whether we build this development or not, we can't resolve all of it. Part of developing in a floodplain is it a 2-to-1 ratio? So anything that we fill in the floodplain, we need to excavate and remove 2 times as much.
And we're gonna do that.
So we are doing that, and we believe it will improve the flooding, but we're not changing the condition that some of these homes are in floodplains. I don't think anything done on this site could do that.
Right.
And then as far as the 70 units, and I know you have State Street and Rossman Circle. Are you considering them each individual project or, okay, so with this, and I know you're applying for some funding, is it 70 or nothing, or is it a scalable?
So the parcels that were part of our original RFP response to the city included parcels on State Street and Rossman. There is, Rossman couldn't be developed for a couple reasons. State Street is a separate application.
Yes, it is.
A separate project.
Yeah.
So this is at that critical mass point, if we're looking at just this project and the 70 unit cap.
So it's either they'll build 70 or there won't be any development. Is that accurate?
We would have to go back to the drawing board, but just to give you insight into our world, because of our funding deadline, I'm dealing with this every day. We get tax credits from the state, we sell that to a large investor, in this case it would be Raymond James and Webster Bank. Probably pick up Raymond James as the syndicator. The tax credits used to go for 95, 96 cents on the dollar, they're down to about 85 cents. Interest rates are up, so we were dealing with close to $2 million gap. So most of our fee gets deferred, there's a whole, we've been juggling just to make this financially work. So dropping unit counts hurts on the operation side because there's certain property managers, superintendents, but it also hurts on the capital side. So we were going back to the drawings.
Okay, you have a question? Question?
I have a question about the building, but just about the logistics. Will you be accepting housing vouchers from HHA or?
Yep, so we don't discriminate based on income, so if we would process any applicant that's applying, whether they have a section 8 voucher from the county or the housing authority.
It's affordable housing for all. That's all, it's affordable housing. It's not just low income, it's just affordable for all. So we have to, make that clear. Because I think people are looking at it differently, but it is affordable housing for all. Any more questions? Susan? James, anybody? Any other questions from the board? No, I just want to get the rest of it. Okay, so we're gonna open it up to public. Okay, so we're gonna start with you can raise your hand, stand up and say your name and where you're from. Questions from the public? You have to say your name and where you're from again.
Thank you, 228 Mill Street. Can you speak up? I will try. This afternoon, we sent a letter to the planning board from every household on Mill Street, expressing our shared concerns about density, traffic, improper and possibly illegal use of parkland and flooding. First, I asked that the planning board members take the time to read and consider those comments. We also have some printed copies if you would like them or.
I think we got it today. I
did
read it,
address
right,
that.
right.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I wasn't able to, I was busy all day, so it will be noted. I read it.
Typically, you should have it in before, maybe a
Before
couple
the day.
days before, not the day of.
Well, thank you for those of you that took the
For the-
time, and I thank you in advance for those of you that will read them after tonight. For myself, tonight, I'd like to express my concern that the planning board is expediting this project for the benefit of the developers and their timeline. I'm concerned that possibly some members of the planning board and city government may be showing a bias of support to the developers rather than upholding their duty to get the best outcomes for public health, safety, and welfare. I have this concern because I see the planning board is trying to do the environmental review approval on the developer's timeline with a lot of unanswered questions. And in the last meeting, I heard some members, there wasn't sufficient time to take public comment, but about at half an hour after the vote was taken, there was a significant time spent trying to change the votes of some members. I also heard some, what I would consider highly disingenuous answers proposed on the environmental review. Such as that this project, which would develop a parcel that is state designated parkland, has been recognized by members of the community as a historic ball field that was named as part of the Charles Williams Park in the city's last grant award for the park, and that abuts the Empire State Trail. You're proposing that this would have little to no impact on recreation or open space. I also heard that this project that would increase neighborhood density by more than 600% on a dead end, 20-foot wide street with no sidewalks and high pedestrian and cyclist traffic because of the Empire State Trail, that is already impassable to emergency vehicles when events happen at Charles Williams Park, that this project would have little to no impact on traffic. I also heard that, once again, this project that would increase the density by 600%, that has very high light posts, no landscaping, fully maxes out the capacity of the lot in every way, would have no impact on noise or light in the neighborhood. I think this is happening because the city government is trying hard to bring more affordable housing into the city, and I'm sure that everyone in this room understands that that need is very urgent. And I also believe many of us from Mill Street would support some form of affordable housing on our street, or even be genuinely enthused to see another round of habitat housing being built, given what a positive impact that type of development has had in our neighborhood. I don't believe this is an issue of affordable housing versus not in my backyard. I see this as an issue of a highly functioning neighborhood staring down a very bad plan. A 600% increase in density with no meaningful change to access or infrastructure on a dead-end one-lane street in a floodplain is a very bad plan. It should concern the planning board that every household on Mill Street agrees this is a bad plan, as do the DPW workers who work on our street, our code enforcement officer, emergency responders in our community, our aldermen, and just about everyone who understands the reality of Mill Street. The city's imperative to build housing should not lead them to support any type of housing anywhere at any cost. This development is a bad fit for the site and will require excessively costly site engineering and access upgrades to make it function. And those costs will fall on the state, city taxpayers, and the neighbors who live. The city government should take a hard look at what would really be required to make such an incredibly high density work on our street, and either consider another site or consider another approach. And the planning board, for its part, should honestly represent this project's traffic, recreation, open space, light and noise impact in its environmental review, and give this project the critical review it deserves rather than expediting its timeline.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Comments and. Are there any more
I have a
comments?
question, is this a public hearing or?
Yes,
I didn't hear you all vote on that, or did I miss it?
I said, yeah, I want to vote to open the public hearing for Mill Street.
I just didn't hear it.
That's because because some people are still on break or whatever. Any more questions from the public on Mill Street? Okay.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening.
Name?
My name is Lisa Johnson and I am at 238 Mill Street, so I will be directly across from this project. And I just wrote a little something, I don't have all
Did you send it to us?
the facts, I did not.
But you can.
But I will, thank you. As a resident of Mill Street, I'd like to make my voice heard. 17 years ago this month, we were blessed with being able to buy our home. Which we love, and we plan on making our forever
Can
home.
I ask you a question? What, those homes over there, are they Habitat?
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah,
I
the
just
first,
wanted to make sure.
the first 5 our habitat
Okay.
homes. We still purchase those though, a lot of people think that we just get our homes for.
No,
That's not,
yes,
we
I
still have a mortgage, just like
We
everybody else
understand.
does. We now have to try to figure out what's best for our family due to this new project proposal. We were told when we built our homes with Habitat for Humanity that the only houses on our street would be the 6 lots plus the existing homes that were already on the other end of the street. And that in front, the field in front and the field in back of our homes was deemed environmental conservation land and was to be used for recreational purposes only. When we moved in, our children, my husband and myself, our children were between the ages of 3 and 15. They used that field across the street almost daily to play kickball, frisbee, football, water balloon fights, looking at the stars, and building snowmen. They also use both fields for sledding. Obviously, we have a great sledding field behind us. Many of us have also had birthday party celebrations there. And it wasn't just my children who used that field, but all the neighborhood children who used that field. Friendships and bonds were made there. My children are now between the ages of 19 and 32, but still use that field to play disc golf and to run with their dogs and to play ultimate frisbee. Now, many of us get to enjoy our grandchildren doing the same things that our children loved. I feel like people aren't taking into consideration the impact that this project would have on the residents of Mill Street. First, think of the noise factor. They had a few weeks ago, maybe a month ago, they had one excavator come down doing testing, digging up all over the place. I have a recording on my phone of what that sounded like in my living room with one excavator. Just think if it's excavators, bulldozers, trucks, banging and clanging, just yards from our front window. As of now, we have a beautiful view out our front window. I get to look at the deer, which I love, the fox, the squirrels that frequent the field. They want to take our beautiful view and make it a large 4-story building. Right directly out my front window. Also consider the value of our homes are going to drop drastically because who wants to look out at a 4-story building when they can have the beautiful scenery that we have? Think about it, if it was your home, I'm sure you'd have the same concerns. Even if you don't take the residents of Mill Street into consideration, think about all the others in the community that will be affected. We get many cyclists who frequent the Empire State Trail. We see many families walking their young children to and from the park, and several dog walkers going to and from the dog park. This will not be such a safe place to walk or ride due to the drastic increase in traffic and parking. Another concern is the flooding. I've personally seen the terrible flooding and have videos of that as well that occur from good rain. We've actually rode floaties, my children and myself, down the field, which turns into a river all of a sudden. Our neighbors at the end of Mill Street deal with the water that floods their basements. They've lost furnaces and electrical appliances. The city tried to rectify this problem once, and it's just gotten worse. The problem is going to continue to get worse. I understand the city is in need of housing quickly, but there are many factors that show that this is not the proper place for this project. I would hope that our concerns would be heard and seriously taken into consideration, and that the perfect place for this project would be found.
Thank you. Comments are noted. Margaret? Okay.
Margaret Morris, first ward, council member. I agree with everything the residents of Mill Street have said, so I'm not going to go over that. When this first came up, it goes back to, you already, I think, answered this question. When this was first brought up, I guess about 1.5 years ago, the 3 projects were connected. It was scattered housing, it was the State Street piece, the Rossman's units, and then this project down in Mill Street. It seems to me, I've tried to go back and find the numbers, but it does seem to me that the scale of this project is much larger than what was initially thought about or across the tree. So, did I hear you correctly that if you have to scale this back, then you would have to go back to the drawing boards for financial and profit reasons? That's what I've heard. Would it mean that you would not do the State Street project or the Rossman project? Is that happening? That's one of my questions. It just seems to me the scale has really changed. And it seems to be out of it's not in touch with what, the name.
Oh,
I have another question, but I'd like.
okay, right now, I'm confused as to the question you're asking, because as far as I know, this is the project that they presented to the planning board has always been what they have originally presented, so.
I'm
what are
talking
you
about
talking
before the planning board, when it's being
Oh.
presented to the council, and the idea of selling, it's a city, developer, I guess, partnership to develop affordable housing, is how it's presented. And it presented as three things that were part of its gathered housing. Well, it just seems to me that the number of units across these three projects has increased since we had those discussions.
But it didn't come to us that way, I just want you to know.
Okay, yeah. But can the developers speak to that?
Yeah, if they want to.
Sure, so, excuse me, our original proposal, had one larger L-shaped building. So we had to break it up into two buildings, just because zoning code only allows a certain linear footage of building before it's break. The unit count on Mill Street, I don't recall off the top of my head, is in the sixties, so it's increased some units, but not drastically. Rossman, the goal of Rossman was affordable homeownership. That's part of the active stormwater treatment system for the HOA up the hill, so that site can't be developed. State Street, I don't recall the number of units in that originally.
Oh, I don't know originally. It was kind of original, right? Yeah.
And
now
we're
it's up
at
to 24.
We're at 16 now, so that lowered the unit count, and that, my fault, at the time of the RFP, we don't even have the benefit of a survey. Right, so we're going off tax maps, so we thought we could get 20 at State Street, we could only get 16.
So right now, the state tree project is 16.
Yes, yes.
So are you trying to fill in the additional units down on Mill Street, but you can't build them on state? It just seems to me that you've increased the number of units here in the scale of the project.
Yeah, I think overall, the number of units is probably the same. Looking over across all three, if not less.
You're over 19 now, I think you're following the eighties.
I'd be happy to double check the numbers. Okay, I think we're very, very close to the numbers that were in the original RFP. The one big design that stands out to me is Mill Street. We originally envisioned it as one building, which is a lot more cost effective. Not only to build it, but to operate it, one mansion office, one elevator, opposed to our element in one building. If we have the zoning code, we split into two buildings, so it's.
I wanna, Margaret, we do respect your questions, but, you know, we need you to direct them to us. And this is the public hearing for just Mill Street, and I know you're bringing up other things that you wanna know about. Would you can be in contact with them privately,
Okay,
right?
that's fine.
Yeah.
I'm not bringing up these others because there are other projects I'm interested in. I'm bringing them up because when this was first brought before the council, it was presented.
Okay, but it wasn't brought before the planning board that way.
Fine, yes, that's correct.
Okay, so right now, we're trying to get through a public hearing for Mill Street.
Okay.
And I do understand what you're saying, but you can conversate with them privately if you like, about anything else that you have concerns about.
So my
I mean,
next, that's fine, my next question, when this was initially going through, I guess, the end of 2023. It was discovered when we had the resolution authorizing the sale of the property. It was
You mean the
discovered-
sale of Mill Street?
Yes, it was
Okay.
discovered that, the deed from the Board of Education where this was, to be in perpetuity recreational education, et cetera. And the city and the board of, the school board came to an agreement in the spring that for a consideration, planning consideration, the school board would rescind that requirement.
Yes,
Has that now been done?
that's in the working for now.
Is there a new deed? Is there?
So,
has the
I
deed-
mean, you're on the common council, you know better than myself, but the agreement, as far as I know, has not been finalized, deed has not been changed, but from the planning board's perspective, that's a private restriction between two entities. The planning board generally doesn't enforce restrictive covenants. Because, you know, some people have an old deed that says you can't have a saloon here, but we don't enforce those types of covenants. That's between the city and the developer.
So as of right
And the school
now,
district.
as of right now, to your knowledge, this property still has a requirement that it remain recreational. And no new deed has been issued, and that status has not officially changed.
To my knowledge, yes.
Okay, those are my questions. Thank you for sharing.
Okay, thank you. Any more questions from the public? Nate,
Lakia Walker,
where do you live?
242 Mill Street.
Okay,
And I said this before, I don't know, the other meeting, above all the concerns that everyone else has, I just wanted the planning board to keep in mind that a park is going to be built on our street as well, like soon. So there is expansion of the current park that is there. And because of the park, there is an increase of traffic, and I'm thinking with an expansion of a park, there's going to be more traffic to consider. And just also, my other concern is about like emergency vehicles coming on Mill Street. When you have more people on a street, there's more accidents that can happen, there's different things that can take place. And I'm concerned like about a fire truck coming down on Mill Street. That's a concern that I have, like, with, especially with the multiple unit building. I don't see how a fire truck is going to save lives. I mean, if you know, the fire company is going to be able to save lives when there's a fire, if something happens in that building. So I'm concerned about that. I'm concerned if even if an ambulance just comes down, even though, but those are some of the things that I'm concerned about that weren't mentioned in the letter. But just keep in mind too, that we are gonna be living in construction with the park, and then where you're proposing for us to live also in construction with a 70-unit housing unit in a flood zone.
thank you.
And just for clarification, are you saying that you're concerned that the street is not wide enough to accommodate a fire truck or an ambulance?
Correct. With other cars being parked there. Coming down in emergency situation, that's kind of bad.
We have a birthday party now at a house and you can't pass the street. Quite honest, then. So please keep that all in mind.
Thank you for comments below. Any more questions from the public?
At me, on the firefighters.
Say your name.
John.
Wait a minute.
John
Let's let
Allen.
them sit. Okay, John.
Me as a former firefighter, I first responder in the city, I will verify that that road is very tight for any emergency traffic to get through. And if you're having a flood situation, it's gonna be more, kind of get already put in that route, do we need?
John, do you live on Hill?
I live on top of the hill on Boston.
What's your address?
What's your address? 61 North Third.
Do we know the way to the street?
I'm checking it right now.
Okay. I mean, those are things that you know, that we address.
We did measure the width of the road, part of our traffic analysis, depending on where you are on the road, so closer to Second Street, it's closer to 24 feet. As you get up from the end, it's closer to 24 feet near the bike path. In the middle, there are sections where it's closer, it's about 20 feet in width. Right, so with a parked car and again, some of the parking there, I don't think the car's fully parked in the street, but if the car was fully parked in the street at 20-foot width, 7 feet for a parked car, typically for a parallel space, so you got 13, 14 feet left over.
And what's the average fire truck? I mean, what's the largest, do we know?
Most vehicles around 8 feet, so 7 feet's a little narrow, unless you're dealing with.
7 feet is typically what we use for a parallel parking space in design.
Not in my experience.
Right now.
But what's the width of a fire truck though, do we know?
The width of a fire truck, you're probably
Do you know,
9, 10
sir?
feet wide.
John, do you know? What's the width of 10 foot?
The new tower is between 8.5 and 10, with the outrigger, all out.
So that's 17 feet. So it's 10 feet and with the park car at 7, even 18 feet.
Yeah.
Would accommodate a parked car.
Yep.
And a truck, you gotta leave some distance in between, so 20 feet at the narrowest would,
So you only got
Would
to play with. I mean, you can play with.
It's coming the other way. It says
yeah,
dead
it's too much traffic. Yeah, fire truck, they got-
But if a fire truck goes down there today, the only way that they can turn around is to go into the playground parking lot and come around. Cause that has a roundabout.
I would imagine.
Right, and that's why we're proposing the new turnaround.
So it'll be for buses and non-emergency.
Anybody, yeah.
And the turn from that street into your development is gonna be wide enough for
Absolutely,
emergency vehicles?
yes. And they'll be able to drive all the way around the parking lot now together.
Nicole, stand up, say who you are, where you from, and your
Nicole
address.
DeGrasse Stone now. I'm not really familiar with this project, and I'm just sitting here really listening to it now. It's close to where I live, and I just can't understand how it could work to build something that raises the density 600 times in a floodplain in a community that I don't see how you're going to protect all of the children and people and all of that with the amount of cars that you're gonna have down there. And I don't understand how you could balk it at one project. And then this one seems to me to be just way out of proportion, way out of design. We're talking about just beautiful little small houses. And I don't understand how it could ever be copacetic with the environment. Thank you.
Any more questions from the public?
I'll weigh in on this.
Linda?
Linda Mussman, I live on 308 State Street and I'm fourth ward county supervisor, and I've been following this project for some time, not as long as I should have. Because there's so many things going on in Hudson, it's hard to keep up. And I commend you for your hard work.
Thank you.
The Mill Street project has not been given a variance at this time that I understand. I did attend a variance code, the zoning variance meeting in August, and they didn't act on it. They did hear these amazing people speak about their concerns, but from my understanding, there's been no seeker yet voted on, so the variance couldn't happen anyway. So that's just a comment on how things are going. So that was a confusion. Confused about even how we can have a public hearing when not all these ducks are in a row. So that's just a comment about the process. The flooding in this area includes houses on Mill Street parallel to the proposed project and houses that are nearest to North Second Street. So the entire area there is subject to flooding. In my opinion, the 70 units is far too many for this community on a dead-end street. Now, this is not new, other people have said this. The second idea, the Mill Street project proposes to reroute water and divert water from Underhill Pond. And that sounds really extraordinary act of diversion of water. And it's no small task in a flood zone. So I would like to make sure that that really is clearly understood how that's all going to happen. The diversion of water is likely to create more problems than it can solve. The third issue is building 70 units of housing on a former playground means that the developer has to fill 8 feet of landfill to bring the housing level to Mill Street. Am I correct? 8 feet of dirt has to come in to bring that entire ball field up to the street level. The fourth concern is cutting down trees to be cleared for this project is equally destructive. I understood from the report that there are bats in there and they're not gonna, I don't understand this. They're not gonna tear the trees down until the bats go to sleep. And then they're gonna tear the trees down even though the bats are still there sleeping. So and then in the long run, the bats are gonna pay the price too. And I live right there and I have my back of my house is on Rope Alley and there are lots of mosquitoes. And bats do a great job of ridding mosquitoes. And the former playground is the one that is absorbing a lot of the water already, am I correct? So we have a natural resource right now that's doing a great job in collecting a lot of that water. Mill Street floods during heavy storms, as many of the residents have repeatedly said, however, this has landed on the developer's deaf ears. Many of the current Mill Street residents have basements that flood. Again, I'm repeating some of this because I think it's important. There are no sidewalks for this project. When the city of Hudson is mandating that we all have sidewalks and we're all supposed to pay for them, I don't understand how this development gets out of this. How come they don't have to have them? Mill Street residents complain that parking is already an issue for the current residents on a dead-end street. And I remind the planning board that a park, again, to restate Ms. Walker's comment, that there's a park being planned behind them, which is going to create even more traffic, more chaos for the community. You know, I understand the need for housing, but I'm really questioning the scope and the size of this project, and I hope you will really consider all issues that this is going to create for the neighborhood. And I challenge the support of this project. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, you're coming to know me. Linda, are you gonna send us that stuff?
Could I respond?
I mean, all of you will receive.
I'll send
Okay.
it.
Can I respond to just two things?
Sure, please.
The bats issue. The way that works is the bats live in the trees in the summertime. They hibernate in the wintertime. So we cut the trees in the wintertime when they're not there. So there are no bats will be
Where are they
disturbed.
going?
Where they go?
When they come back.
In their hibernaculum and the caves and the caskets. The other thing is the water diversion. Currently, the stream from the pond that discharges through our site is directed to a 24-inch pipe that overflows during large storms. When that happens, the water flows around onto Mill Street, and then down through the site. Our intention with that is to actually improve the condition and keep the water off Mill Street as long as possible. So we're trying to improve the situation actually, and provide a better inlet to that system so that it can function better during storms.
Okay.
I also have a.
Okay, let me just add something. Okay, okay, never mind.
Hi, I'm Kevin Johnson, here with my wife Lisa, we live at 238 Mill Street.
Okay.
And what was that other meeting that we came to?
Zoning.
The zoning board, at the zoning board meeting, Mrs. Kinsey from the end of the street, the Kelsey, sorry, thank you, shared with us in this group discussion type setting that the traffic study that was done, that was supposed to be at peak times. They dropped the things on the road at 11 p.m. and picked them up at 1 a.m. That is anything but peak times. That is a deception. I just wanted to reiterate that because you didn't get to hear that, you weren't. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I address that?
Yes, yeah, please.
So the way the traffic study, the data collection, the traffic study works. There's video cameras that are placed at the intersections that collect the data for a 24-hour period. So they are placed overnight, typically picked up the following week. The data is collected for a 24-hour period. We break that down to what are the peak time periods of the intersections. So we end up looking at a 1 hour peak time in the morning and a 1 hour peak time in the afternoon. So I don't have the exact numbers right in front of me, but those peak hours fell somewhere between 7 and 9 in the morning and 4 and 6 in the afternoon. And that's where our hours of analysis fell. But there is 24 hours of data collection that is done. So they would have seen these cameras being picked up or placed at night, overnight, and picked up the following night.
I'm sorry, I can't get back online. Sorry about that.
Yeah, I can't either.
You can't get back online. We're out. Any more questions from the public?
Yes. My name is Josh Kipp. I live at 230 Mill Street. I wish the planning board would all take a ride down there and see the narrowness of this street and the kids walking to school. It is huge, it's gonna be a huge hazard for children, not only going to school, but going to this new $2 million park we're building. So that, I'm worried about my kids and my grandkids, you know, their safety on the street along with everyone else. And to say that we haven't disturbed the bats, we did that 2 weeks ago when they knocked down about 15 or 20 trees and the bats were. I can't come up with a word right now, yeah, they were swarming for the next week at night, more so than they normally are. So they already did destroy their habitat during summertime. If that's an indication of how they are gonna operate, you know, in their truthfulness to the public and the planning board, thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Rich Polo. I am the fourth ward council member, the fourth ward here on Mill Street. I sent an email earlier to
Today,
everyone.
yes.
So if that could just be.
It will be uploaded, but
Wonderful.
it was long and I hope that some of us, I was just in another class all day. I saw it, but I didn't get a chance to really read it.
I just want to show this. So, yeah, I looked down Mill Street, I looked down Mill Street multiple times. This is gonna have a significant impact on this community here. It's 16 units, which is ridiculous. Amount of units.
67.
Even more ridiculous amount of units that are gonna be down there. What really concerns me though is that this was city property that was sold to a developer without the community input. So,
Still city property.
Huh?
Still city property.
It's still city, fair enough, yes, still city property, sold and being and developed without the community input. I mean, this isn't even like a private developer or a private piece of land, this is city owned property. Why are these people as stakeholders in the development process prior to reaching this point? That's a procedural issue which I have a problem with. There is no one on Mill Street who supports this project. It's totally out of scope, out of place, out of character with the whole neighborhood. And I really hope that everyone considers that. Mill Street is a wonderful prime example of housing that works in this city. Those Habitat for Humanity houses are amazing, and we're, most of them were part-time owner purchases, and people, gain wealth and generational, it's great. And this other project is not that. I would much rather see more housing similar to the Habitat for Humanity housing that are down on Mill Street as a prime example throughout the city of Hudson. Thank you very much.
Brandon, is there anybody on Zoom that we can get with here?
I do not send the hands raised.
Okay, any more comments for the public?
Just one, there are several members of our neighborhood that would like to have made it tonight and are not able to. There's a request to extend the public hearing for another month. So
Oh, no, we're not closing. The day is the first day of the public hearing, so it's not being closed.
Great.
And everybody can submit their comments through the portal. Please do. We do. Everybody does read them.
Thank you.
Okay. Yes.
Margaret Morris, first ward, question was raised, I can't recall on one of the speakers on the subject room, about the perception, that this project is being given better treatment and is being moved forward much more quickly than other projects that have been on the planning board agenda for some time. Does the planning board have some policy or process whereby you prioritize those special meetings for projects that are city related versus private developers? It does appear that there is a difference in how this project is being managed.
Well, I'm gonna apologize for that appearance, but we deliberate on each project individually. And if it does appear that way, the only thing I can do is apologize, but we do. If this project has a need that we need to address and we can, we will. And that's any project. If it wasn't Mill Street and it was Campus Street or anything, we're gonna act accordingly. And that's just a perception, exactly what you said. It's not a fact, it's a perception. Okay, so, any more questions? Okay, so we're going to, I can, continue the public hearing, then go to sequel. Yep. Okay. Can I get a motion to continue, you guys coming back next month? Okay, so to continue the public hearing to, for Mill Street until, October.
Yeah, I definitely make that motion that we continue the public hearing.
Okay, second, all in favor? Okay, now for Mill Street, we wanna, do the sequel that we tried to, we wanna continue with the sequel on the 20th. No questions and they address those.
Yeah, sure, the same 20,
Right.
15
So,
questions.
I'm gonna turn it over to our attorney to go through it with us.
Oh, well, so at the last board meeting, the board went through part 2 of the EAF, and we went through a draft executive declaration. There was not enough affirmative votes for it to pass.
It didn't mean that it was denied, it just said it wasn't enough to pass. We have to get 4 votes.
We have a question from Abe at Uniclap. Do we want to address that now?
Abe?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just yes, I can hear you, and I've been listening in. I just wanted to clarify that for public comments, they should still message the board they should still send their comments in. The portal is a way for applicants and the board to add materials to their projects, but there's not a way to just have anyone from the public add it. So at this time they should keep, because then it would just be, unfiltered, whatever anyone wanted to post. So the public should still send their comments to the board. There's not a public comment feature besides Linda adding them once they're received.
So in other words, they send them to us and then Linda will have to upload them to the applicant on the portal?
That's right. Yeah, exactly. Because there needs to be at this stage, there needs to be a vetting process for public comments being sent in, rather than it being anyone being able to add any material to the portal that would be then publicly visible. You could imagine that would be an issue.
Okay, so I'll change that. Continue to send them to the chair or any of the board members or the secretary, and then, we'll make sure everybody gets a copy, and then our secretary will upload it to the individual application so that you can all you open that application, you'll see everything. Okay, thanks, Abe.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, the portal went into effect on August 1st, so we're still working out some of the kinks. Okay. All right, go ahead, I'm sorry.
So last meeting, you went through a part 2, you identified, not a full majority, but identified potential answers to the part 2, and we have a draft negative declaration. This has been updated slightly since the last meeting, just to note that a bus shelter and has been added, and that the applicant will work with the city to develop a turnaround that's sufficient for the fire trucks and the buses. So that sentence or 2 has been added. So the question is, do you want to go through part 2 again? Do you have questions? Do you want to review the language? It's the board's document, and it's. Are you ready to move forward with this?
Are we ready to give a vote on the declaration of the sequel today?
Did you address the traffic analysis one more time with me?
Sure.
What's the question?
Do you have a specific question or?
No, you had said that whatever I had a question about before with the traffic, you had addressed it in your analysis. Did you say that before?
Well, I don't remember exactly what the question was.
You addressed the turnabout, right? You addressed that there's
right.
enough room for that for emergency vehicles for. Okay, and you addressed it by talking about the new busing situation, right? So that is all taken care of, okay.
Our site has turnaround for emergency vehicle.
Okay, there should be enough room.
Yep.
Okay.
Mill
Just wanna make
Street,
sure.
we're adding the turnaround as well, which still has to be fine tuned.
And Dr. Young, Christian sent something today too.
Yeah. Okay.
Victoria or Christian, can you address, just for those of us that are semi-new members to the board, and maybe you know, for the public's edification, the parameters of what this does.
The sequel.
Sure, so this is the determination of significance, which basically says. The project will not have any significant adverse environmental impacts. It doesn't mean there are no impacts. I mean, obviously, every change impacts something. But that it doesn't rise to the level of being a significant impact. And there's guidance in the secret documents. Specifically on what each question means when it comes to significant or not significant. So adopting this forecloses future discussion about potential significant impacts from the project. It doesn't mean that you don't continue with site plan review. You can still do tweaks to the layout to make the layout work better if you need to. It does allow the zoning board to go ahead and take a vote on the requested variances.
So we can still request changes.
I mean, to some extent, it limits what you can request because. I don't wanna say your leverage is the neg deck, but you've said that there's no significant impact, so what, you'd have to have a rational basis for still requesting other changes.
So the size of the project, can that be changed? The number of units?
Okay.
I mean, like, can you request a change?
If the board voted a negative declaration from speaker tonight. In the site plan review, the size of the project be changed.
They could always volunteer a smaller project, but by finding that there's no adverse impact at 70 units. Would likely lack a reasonable basis to then reduce the units, because you've already said there's no impact at 70, so it would be the basis for reduction.
And Christian, can you weigh in on that they can build up to 90 something units?
The density that's allowed for that piece of property, they could put up 94 units.
I appreciate all that, but we have another project that we've talked about the impacts to the neighborhood.
But that
So I'm
project,
taking that into
the density
consideration.
only allows them to put up what?
The other project, the density is not limited at all.
That's
The
the boulevard
Yeah.
doesn't have a limitation, but we've raised a concern about the density on that project.
But the community character aspect
of the
is outside of the, it's within the secret or outside secret?
Within the secret as well.
Okay.
I mean, you guys have talked previously, and we could talk more about how, you know, they're in different neighborhoods, you know, but. That community character is a secret impact, and it should be like that, part of the secret.
So, any more questions?
No, I think my only other concern is. As a new board member and in my time here, we have had a lot of projects and Hudson is a growing community and that's wonderful. This project does feel like it's being fast tracked and expedited, and I would expect that any applicant who comes would love to see their project expedited. So I disagree with. That this is not being handled like all the other projects.
Well, I'm sorry to feel that way, but yeah, I don't know how many people, but I mean, anybody else feels that way? Because I don't. No, okay.
Well, none of this that we're doing tonight is an approval.
No, it's just the approval of whether or not it's gonna have a significant impact on the neighborhood or not. Site
It's
plan
not
approval.
approval, but it'll limit our powers later on.
I mean, is there anything within the plans that you think you're gonna wanna see a change in? Or that
The size of the development.
Okay, but I think we should still try to get a hold of this. Okay, I'd like to call for a vote for the secret declaration or the negative declaration that.
Well, we have to go for the question by question. Isn't that the same
You
procedure?
don't want to-
So-
do you have to-
I understand that at the last meeting, the board did go question by question, we can do it again. I'm happy.
Yeah, I was.
How many, in order to grant
in order for this to go through, how many votes do you need? Because we didn't have enough.
Four. It's a majority of the board.
And that's four. Okay, go through the question.
Okay, you wanna go through, let me pull up.
Do everybody wanna go through the questions again?
Book and guidance, so we can.
Yes, no,
I do, I wasn't here.
Okay. Susan, Jenny, if y'all want to go through the questions?
I'm not prepared to, provide a negative declaration.
And I'm sorry about that because this information has been disseminated to every member of this board.
No, I wouldn't vote. If you want me to vote,
Okay.
I would vote.
I understand that, but I'm just saying, I thought when you said you're not prepared.
No,
it's like
she's not prepared. I'm prepared,
But,
but
okay.
I would vote positive.
So, go to the questions.
Oh, okay, so just give me 1 minute, I'm gonna see your workbook.
I apologize for being such a not prepared, that kind of.
No,
Yeah,
no.
Okay, so the first question is impact on land. The proposed action may involve construction on or physical alteration of the land surface of the proposed site. That is checked. The answers are yes or no, because the project involves physical disturbance. You know, the yes box would be appropriate, it doesn't involve disturbance. So then there are some questions that it asks you to go through to determine whether it's a potential small impact or a potential moderate to large impact. You wanna start going through this section, because it has to be the order you go.
Yep.
And then,
So the first question in the impacts to land is the proposed action may involve construction on land with water depth is less than 3 feet. And that's a concern if you have stormwater practices, basements, septics that are gonna be placed inside that, you know, that, where that water table is gonna affect it.
But the foundation for this project is gonna be built up, so correct the.
Yep, and there's stormwater on this project is above the water table, so it's built up out of it.
Right.
On the underground detention that's under the parking lot. So that is a small, or is it, you know, that's probably a small.
That's what we're going to the last time.
Yep. The proposed action may involve constructions on slopes that are greater than 15%. And that's for erosion. Basically, when you're constructing on slopes and you're disturbing the vegetation, there's a potential to create excess erosion. DEC handles that through the creation of SWIPs, where they have to implement stormwater management practices to, you know, mitigate for that, you know, loss of erosion. So that would be an impact potentially.
What's the slope from the back of the property that they're?
It's measured at about 36%.
It's about 33%.
Oh, okay.
So it's pretty steep back there.
Yeah.
But they are implementing silt fence, check dams, and those kind of measures to mitigate that.
So it is greater than 50%, but you're saying it's gonna be, the plan is to mitigate that.
Correct. Yep.
That's what.
It's in their plans.
So with the mitigation of that, then that would be a small.
Small,
Correct. If you can get it below the 50%.
Yep. The proposed action may involve the excavation or removal of more than 1,000 tons of natural material. And that's basically to limit the number of trucks, and how much material is coming off the site. Are you gonna be excavating and, you know, creating ground? I don't believe on the site there's any material coming off the site. So any material that's excavated is going to stay on the site. That's correct. So again, that would be a small.
What's the volume? What's gonna be the volume?
I haven't done the calculations for the month.
You said 1,000 tons?
1,000 tons. Which is a lot of material.
5,000 cubic feet was listed on.
Excuse me, ma'am, the public hearing is closed, okay?
Is that-
You can write it in.
There's a volume of
I wanna get through this to go home tonight.
There's a volume of cut and fill within the floodplain itself. That's just the floodplain, not parking lot.
let me just, read to you quickly what the small impact, moderate impact, and large impact guidance says from DEC. Small impacts that are minor in magnitude and that have a small or limited effect on environmental resources. Small impacts may occur when an impact is limited to a small area. They can also occur, so it can be maybe a larger magnitude, but in a smaller area. Small impacts are usually isolated, of minimal size, intermittent, or in short duration, do not affect rare or unusual species, habitats, or other resources. Generally considered negligible, minor, generally impacts to resources that are not regulated or protected by state and local agencies. A moderate impact is impacts that are moderate in magnitude and that have more impact on environmental resources. Moderate impacts can also occur when the impact affects a larger part of the parcel or even extending to a small area just beyond the parcel. Moderate environmental impacts may be either isolated, only in one location, or of regional concern in a larger area. They generally are longer lasting, duration measured in weeks or several months, are often reversible and can be more easily addressed through mitigation measures or project changes. The resources affected often have broader local or regional concern, and often are activities and resources that are regulated or protected by some local, state, or national agencies. And then large impacts are severe in magnitude or cover larger areas of the neighborhood or community. They could be irreversible, challenging to mitigate, of wide regional scale, or of long duration. A large impact may also be unlikely to occur, but if it does, it would be very damaging to the environment. They often have broader local or regional concern and often are activities or resources that are regulated or protected by some local, state, or national agency. So these are, there is some gray area in these definitions because a lot of it has to do with the particular facts and circumstances of the community and the project. These regulations apply to every community throughout New York State. So, you know, you have large cities, you have very small villages. So, you have to apply these standards in the context of the city of Hudson.
Well, within the context that I understand it, kind of falls between the small and medium impact. I'm just trying to figure out how many truckloads of material that would equal.
I was just reading this for the whole.
No, I
budget,
understand.
Yes.
I mean, is that, let me just do it as a time calculation. For you to deliver that bill in, how many would that take place over a day, 2 days, a week, 2 weeks?
Deliver the fill?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably, I can tell you, I don't.
On an estimate, obviously.
I'd say part of it is we have to cut part of the hill from the building, so that material is being used on site. We're gonna have an import.
Okay.
Where the building gets excavated, that material then gets used under that parking area.
Gotcha.
But it wouldn't be a continual fill. We'll be excavating the building, moving the fill, we'll put it in stormwater practices first. And then as the building progresses, we'll be filling in the rest of the site as we need.
How long do you think that process would take? I'm just trying to get, the concern is trucks and buying of trucks. So if you think that could happen in a week, then you can get the bill that you need delivered to the site, and then, I mean, obviously you're gonna be moving and grading and doing that other stuff, but could that happen? Would it take a month worth of truck traffic or a week?
And I mean, besides fill, there are going to be truck.
Other materials, I understand, I'm just bringing it up to grade, which is pivotal to this question.
I think there's gonna be noise impact and an inconvenience with construction.
Mhm.
We'll mitigate it as best as we can during construction, if there always is. And there's a lot of noise in the beginning, and once you get in the building, there's less noise. But correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe this impact is looking at the long-term impact after it's built. Construction will mitigate as best we can. We will have truck traffic, whether it's fills, delivering equipment, or delivering other materials for the job. That if we need to, other projects, we have flaggers to coordinate it.
So that doesn't specify with us the building period, is that correct? And he's saying that's over the lifetime of the project or the operational life of the project, including obviously the construction.
It's the lifetime of the project, it's not just construction.
Gotcha.
So I guess my point is construction is a very small time period.
Correct.
So the seeker though, in the impacts to land is actually looking at what is the overall impact? It doesn't matter whether it's in construction or whether it happens, just construction.
That's fine.
I think.
So that would be a medium impact in my view. Based on that,
Medium to large, or to moderate.
yeah,
You mean small,
It's not gonna be meaningful.
It'd be moderate.
small,
Yeah.
moderate, that comes together.
Small means it's minuscule, you're not gonna see an impact really, it's there, but it's not gonna be there. Moderate means, and just because you're saying it's moderate, does not necessarily warrant that it's positive. It just says that you're acknowledging that there may be an impact with it. The proposed action may involve construction that continues for more than 1 year or multiple phases. And that's looking at the impact to actual construction.
Right.
How is that construction going to, it's gonna be a long, multi-year based project? Or is it gonna be condensed to a couple months and be a limited impact? I believe their construction schedule is 14 months. Or is something like that?
I thought I heard 18.
I thought it was 18 too.
I think
18 is with our rent up and stabilization, renting up the units, so like our construction loan, that period will be 18 months. So our construction term for financing is 18 months, but these are wood frame buildings, we've done them quite often.
Then what frame was it?
Wood frame, so I'd say between 14 to 16 months will be done.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so it's over a year, so it's gonna be an impact. It's you as a board to determine whether you think it's a moderate or small impact.
The smallest under a year,
Well, small is negligible.
Negligible.
right, so it's medium.
Moderate. It's moderate. And small and moderate comes together.
Small means you basically no impact, you're gonna blow it through it. Moderate means you actually.
No, the two categories are no and small or moderate to large.
Right, so no and small and moderate.
Yeah, but just because, as Christian said, just because something is moderate, it doesn't mean that you go to a positive necessarily, it means you gotta talk about how you're mitigating it, what you're doing.
And that's what they're doing.
So, the proposed action may result in increased erosion from physical disturbance of vegetation removal, including from treatment by herbicides. That's basically when you remove all the, grass, you've got exposure, you're gonna have potential for erosion. They're mitigating that through the implementation of the SWIP. So again, it's probably a moderate. But that's up to the board to decide.
What was the vote on the orders?
It was checked as moderate last. Moderate.
And the one before was checked as moderate also.
Correct. Yep.
So in other words, he wasn't here, but we kind of.
You'd rather say inclusive.
And then the last item in this section is a proposed action may be located within a coastal erosion hazard area. This is not located in a coastal, hazard area, so it's just, a small impact or no impact.
Okay.
I apologize, it's getting late.
The next question, is there, the proposed action may result in the modification or destruction of, or inhibit access to any unique or unusual landforms on the site. So these are cliffs, caves, dunes. The site, as far as we are aware, doesn't contain any of those types of geological features.
And what do we agree to last time?
A natural stream, I mean, you're impacting a natural stream.
The question has to do with limited forms, not water, but I don't know what you agreed to last time, but
It was checked, no. That's right.
Yeah.
Because the way DEC says, if you've got cliffs, dunes, waterfalls, erratic rocks, gorges, glacial features, and caves, really geologically significant, items is what DEC is looking for. They're not looking for streams and, hills. It's more pronounced features.
the next question has to do with water. 3, impacts on surface water. The proposed action may affect one or more wetlands or other surface water bodies. No or yes. And so, The DEC says this question asks the reviewing agency to evaluate potential impacts to any wetland or other surface water body, including streams, rivers, ponds, lakes. Actions would include activities that disturb the land, such as removing vegetation, increasing or decreasing the size of the water body, creating new water bodies, clearing, filling, excavating within or adjoining a water body. Also activities that would cause erosion, withdraw water, discharge waste into the water body, or degrade water quality. So.
That's a yes, obviously.
Yes, it's marked yes, and that means we have to go through the sub questions. So A, the proposed action may create a new water body.
The answer to that is, it's probably moderate, because yes, they're gonna create a new stream. Right now, it's currently piped, so they're moving that pipe, the stormwater from that pipe to the natural, new stream that's gonna be along.
Is it a new stream or is it just a holding pond?
No, it's a new stream. Currently it's piped from Duck Pond, is it Duck Pond? Up top, where are they?
Underhill.
Was that
Underhill Pond.
Underhill Pond? So it's currently piped underground. My guess is somewhere.
And they were gonna open it up, right?
Correct.
Which actually, by DEC standards, is actually a good thing.
Yeah, I'm just gonna question about that.
Flow of force of water and in.
If you continue to do this.
I'm sorry, but I want you to
No,
be
but
aware.
if you continue to
I
interrupt.
got you.
So they're
Please
taking a
stop.
24-inch pipe and they're replacing it with, I believe it's a 5-foot bottom channel. That's a side slope, so it's substantially larger to handle that flow.
Right,
Going through there. So yes, they are creating a new water body
gotcha.
by doing this. As DEC,
And we had put moderate on the last one.
yeah,
Okay, so we agree to that completely.
Okay, the proposed action may result in an increase or decrease of over 10% or more than a 10-acre increase or decrease in the surface area of any body of water. So there's no 10-acre, the property.
So we said, what we said, what we.
That one was checked no. Okay, see, the proposed action may involve dredging more than 100 cubic yards of material from a wetland or water body.
And what did we say on that one?
It's checked no.
there's no wetlands or water bodies on the site.
She's gonna go through them, and if you don't agree with it, then you say something, because we kind of went over this last meeting.
D, the proposed action may involve construction within or adjoining the freshwater or tidal wetland or in the bed or banks of any other water body.
What did they say last time?
Oh, you want me to read what the?
Yes, say what it was said last
Okay.
time. If we don't agree, then they're gonna say.
Okay, so, you previously checked no.
Yeah.
Because. E, proposed action may create turbidity in a water body, either from upland erosion runoff or by disturbing bottom sediment. No. F, proposed action may include construction of one or more intakes for withdrawal of water from the surface water. That means taking water out of a pond or river or lake. You previously checked no. Proposed action may include construction of one or more outfalls for discharge of wastewater to surface water, so sending dirty water or treated water into a stream. Previously checked no. H, proposed action may cause soil erosion or otherwise create a source of stormwater discharge that may lead to siltation or other degradation of receiving water bodies. You previously checked moderate to large impact.
They're desperate because of the holding pond.
That's from the erosion on site that's gonna create, again, that's being mitigated through the sweat.
Okay, proposed action may affect the water quality of any water bodies within or downstream of the site of the proposed action. Previously checked no or small impact.
Agreed.
Proposed action may involve the application of pesticides or herbicides in or around any water body. Previously checked no or small impact. The proposed action may require the construction of new or expansion of existing wastewater treatment facilities. No or small impact is yes.
Oh, sure. Okay. The next one is impacts of flooding. And the proposed action may result in development of lands subject to flooding. And the answer to that one was yes. As you checked last time. The first section under that is a proposed action may result in the development in a designated floodway. The project isn't currently in a designated floodway, it's in a floodplain. there's different designations between the two.
Okay,
So the answer to that is, check no last time. The proposed action may result in development within the 100-year floodplain. Again, last time that was checked, moderate to large, because it is in development of a floodplain. The proposed action may result in development within a 500-year floodplain. Again, it's within a 500-year floodplain, so that's a moderate to large impact. That's checked before. The proposed action may result in or require modification of existing drainage patterns. Again, they're changing the drainage patterns on the site, so we checked moderate to large last time. The proposed action.
well, these are impacts, not necessarily good or bad, it is impacts.
Yep.
Yes, okay.
The proposed action may change flood water flows that contribute to flooding. Again, we checked moderate, we were changing last one. If there's a dam located on the site, the proposed action is the dam in need of repair or upgrade. There's no dam on the site, so last time we checked no.
That was easy. Impact on air. Proposed action may include a state regulated air emission source. You previously checked no. Impact on groundwater. Proposed action may result in new or additional use of groundwater or may have potential to introduce contaminants to groundwater or an aquifer. You previously checked yes. A proposed action may require new
So,
water.
say that again. Please repeat the last question.
It's talking about potential impacts on groundwater. And so it's marked as yes, potentially impacting groundwater. So the first sub question is whether it requires new water supply wells or creates additional demand for supplies from existing water supply wells. This is checked as no or small from the last meeting.
Right, it's city water, it's not wells.
Yeah. That's okay. Water supply demand from the proposed action may exceed safe and sustainable withdrawal capacity rate of the local supplier aquifer. Previously checked no or small. Proposed action may allow or result in residential uses in areas without water and sewer. You previously checked no or small. Proposed action may include or require wastewater discharge to groundwater. Previously checked no or small. Proposed action may result in the construction of water supply wells in locations where groundwater is suspected to be contaminated, no or small. Proposed action may require the bulk storage of petroleum or chemical products over groundwater or an aquifer. Previously checked no or small. Proposed action may involve the commercial application of pesticides within 100 feet of potable drinking water. Previously marked as no or small. I'll do one more, then I'll pass it over. Impact on plants and animals. The proposed action may result in the loss of flora or fauna. So this is previously checked as no. I think that's
probably moderate.
yeah, this should be checked, yes, as they are removing trees that are potentially in a bad habitat. So this should be marked yes. And then we have to go into the sub questions. Okay, the proposed action will cause reduction in population or loss of individuals of any threatened or endangered species as listed by New York State, the federal government that use the site are found over or on the site. And so there were threatened and endangered species identified, potentially using the site.
Go to bats.
Yeah. So you have to identify whether you think this is a no or small impact or whether it's a large impact.
I have moderate.
I'm moderate.
I'm moderate.
Yeah, I do too.
The proposed action may result in a reduction or degradation of any habitat used by any rare, threatened, or endangered species as listed by New York State and federal government.
I'm gonna go back to the bats. They're not gonna go, they're gonna go to other people's houses, because the house across the street from me did a roof. And for some reason it had bats in the attic. And all they did is just come to my house and other houses. So do they leave the area?
I'm sorry?
Will they leave the area? I'll ask Chris, do they leave the area?
No, they find other habitat.
Yeah, right, so they're still in the area.
Correct.
You don't kill them.
No.
Right, because I didn't think they lived the area, I didn't leave the area. on
Can I just
what that-
clarify, we did a habitat assessment, so there was no Bruce identified on site, I just want to make that clear. That the potential habitat area needs, a broad brush. But it wasn't like they identified, an active Bruce on the site. It's more of an area map, we come into this.
So,
Did you have like exfoliating trees or?
Well, we also have the tree clearing and time period in
Well,
addition.
No,
right?
I'm just asking if you found trees that should be defended.
I don't believe you did a bat or a tree assessment on the site.
Okay.
The habitat assessment.
No. It's actually a tree survey where they go out and look at every single tree, to determine the park will work.
Maybe confusing bats with eagles.
He's confusing that.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So.
So what do you call that, Christian?
It's a tree assessment survey, and when you develop a piece of property, they can do one of two things. They can limit their clearing to the time of the bats are in hibernation. Those are those months from November to March.
That's what you got.
If the developer wants to go through the exercise of doing a tree assessment, what they'll have to do is an environmentalist or biologist will go out, and they'll identify all the trees on the site that potentially have, the ability to, the bats, nest in there. Those trees would have to be preserved during construction until it could be cleared during that time.
Right.
They're assuming there are bats on site, and then the mitigation is limiting the clearing between the certain.
But you're still gonna mitigate it, but it just, those were saved so that they were specifically identified and preserved until the last moment that you.
Yep, most developers just go and say, we're just gonna clear in the months that they're hibernating. And not affect them.
And another thing the board can do, during site plan review is when they have landscaping, try and get trees that provide habitat for bats, planted as landscaping. Okay. So you still need to identify though whether this is a no or small impact or moderate to large impact. May result in a reduction or degradation of any habitat used, so. I can read to you what they're actually asking. Another one is the.
How many trees have been removed to date?
So we did the test pits, there was 8 or 10 test pits, only small diameter trees that were not that. There was no install, it was just from the tribes that get into the area.
But it's your backs and not over or something, it's actually not just.
So it says small impact. It's likely a small impact could occur if there are species of special concern adjacent to the project site, but no habitat found on the project site. Or they are on the project site, but construction operation activities will avoid impairment of their habitats and not impair the animal's ability to use the site. Or construction will take place within a portion, but will be done during the season when the species is not present, and vegetation will be replaced in the same location after construction.
And that's what you guys.
Well, the other thing to keep in mind is that we're not touching about half the site, it's still trees.
So I actually have their answers from last time, but not printed like that. Of what the board decided last time.
Okay,
So
Good.
which one are we on?
we're on 7B.
So we put that moderate to large.
Okay.
Because I did this at the meeting last time too, either way, in the version. C was no or small, the proposed action may cause reduction in population or loss of individuals of any species of special concern or conservation need as listed by New York State or the federal government. The use of the site or are found on over or near the site, that was no or small impact. D, the proposed action may result in reduction or degradation of any habitat used by any species of special concern or conservation need as listed by New York State or the federal government, that was checked no or small impact.
In other words, the people that were here last, for the 20th, we've gone over it for the guys that were not here.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm sorry, I just.
Yeah, the proposed action may diminish capacity of a registered national landmark to support the biological community. was established to reject, there is no one left there, so.
But if you have a question, please, by all means.
The proposed action may result in the removal of ground disturbance or any portion of the designated significant natural community, that was checked, yes, moderate to large impact. The proposed action may substantially interfere with the nesting, foraging, or overwintering habit for predominant species that occupy or use the project site. Now, last time the board checked no. That was here, and we were just talking about it, so. I don't know if we want to read it, yeah.
I still think no.
The proposed action requires. Yeah, proposed action requires the conversion of more than 10 acres of forest or grassland or any other regionally or locally important habitat type or any other information above. No or small impact. The proposed action, commercial, industrial, or recreational projects only. Involve the use of herbicides or pesticides. This was not a commercial, industrial, or recreational, so the answer is no.
Okay,
Sorry.
so, Cassandra just read the answers from last round, if anyone had any questions, changes, edits.
Okay, so what is there?
Okay, impact on agricultural resources. This is not. anything for area, so I will check number. Impact on aesthetic resources. The land use of the proposed action are obviously different from or are in sharp contrast to current land use patterns between the proposed project and a scenic or aesthetic resource. Is it checking?
This was checked now.
Okay, so this
That was checking out?
was checked no at the last meeting.
Read that again.
If you're not in a scenic or aesthetic resource area.
Correct.
Okay, yeah.
So this is
okay.
a scenic, it's identified, so sometimes like when you pull over on the side of the road, it says scenic viewing area.
Yeah.
Right.
The fact that it's a park. Well, park is it was further down, so we addressed parkland and recreation.
Yeah, there's a
But no, I
different section
understand
that
the
talks
rationale.
about community
Yeah.
character and parkland, so aesthetic resources is for its designated viewshed or. aesthetic
Understood. Understood.
That's no. Okay, impact on historic and archaeological resources. This was checked, no.
And there's a SHPO no effect on it.
There's no effect, though, we need to check, yeah.
Is this the reverse?
Did we do this one again?
No, check no.
Right, but if you have a no effect letter, then it means that it was something that they knew, right?
Based on it, I said,
Okay.
no.
Okay. Okay, so impact on open space and recreation. This was previously checked, no.
Only did five of them.
Yeah, we'll check yes, that's fine.
Okay.
Yes.
What was checked, like, which one?
Impact on open space and recreation.
Yeah, sure.
So the proposed action may result in a loss of recreational opportunities or a reduction of an open space resource as designated in any adopted municipal open space plan.
Was it space, I mean, I don't think we used it, but was it designated? I don't think it was designated.
Not, I don't think it was designated since the time the city had it, maybe when the school had it, right? When you had went over that.
With the school, yes.
Yeah.
But I was designated as an open space resource.
That's when the school had it, but the city, it wasn't designated anything from the time that the city had purchased. No.
Okay.
Right, and it was a baseball designated,
Right, right.
and he had
So the answer is
explained that
no.
last week, yeah,
So the answer is no.
last month, yes.
So first question, the proposed action may result in an impairment of natural functions or ecosystem services provided by an undeveloped area, including but not limited to stormwater storage, nutrient cycling, or wildlife habitat.
Said no.
Proposed action may result in the loss of a current or future recreational resource.
I think this is.
No,
We just said it was never designated.
No, you just said it was yes.
No.
No, we said no, it was never.
Sorry, I said no, but I thought I wanted to, yes.
No, from the time that the city owned this property, it was never designated as anything.
Yeah, we just.
No, but it's a two-part question. The first is loss of recreational opportunities.
Right.
The second is reduction of a designated resource.
But if recreational opportunity in what aspect? Because it was just sitting there. People used it at will, not because the city put it there for them to use.
Right, right.
So,
Yeah, that's what-
that was another, yeah.
But you're asking
We had
if it
went
can
through
be
that
a-
last, yeah.
But that's,
But
that
no,
last question is if it can be a future, is that what we're saying?
So, I mean, the question asks, is the project site currently used as a recreational resource?
No.
No.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Now, who's checking these boxes?
State designated parkland. Then-
So, is. Want me to read what we put in the draft? Well, let me just read what the analysis is, and then you can go through how it's addressed. So is the project site currently used as a recreational resource? If so, how? Is the project site an open space that serves as an important link between other larger open spaces? Would the project result in a loss of those resources? Does the community have long-term plans for recreational use of that property? If yes, how? Will the proposed project prevent those plans from coming about? If so, how? And so. You have heard that I think it's been informally used for recreational purposes by the public. So yes, it is being used as a recreational resource. But moving to the rest of that analysis, it's asking about whether the community has long-term plans for the recreation use of that property and will the project impact those long-term plans? So Sandra's gonna read what the.
Yeah, so we had a long discussion on this at the last meeting, and what we came up with, and tweaked it a little bit, is the proposed action will have a significant impact on open space recreation. The deed from the Hudson City School District to the City of Hudson reported at Library 586, page 217, includes a restriction which limits the use of the property for park and recreational purposes. However, there is nothing in the planning board records which indicate the site is ever being used as parkland or for recreational purposes by the City of Hudson. And the development of a vacant parcel will therefore not any impact the existing open space, a recreational resource. So, last meeting, Linda is the city's historian. To her knowledge, it had never been used as a parkland after the city acquired it. It was used for the men's little softball league in the 1970s and 80s, but that was when it was still owned by the school district. So once the change of ownership happened, those recreational activities ceased. So anyone who used it after that, it wasn't a city sponsored softball league.
Yes, it was.
It was children.
Yes, it was.
or-
I
according
put
to
in
the planning board.
98 for city men.
Here we go again. I know, he needs to go.
The question.
We still have the police here.
The question.
Take a ride down there and check.
Goodbye.
See ya.
The question does ask, the proposed action may result in loss of an area now used informally by the community as an open space resource. So
That's, yeah.
I think there,
Informal,
yes,
that's the word.
you have to
Yes,
acknowledge
yes.
that
Yeah,
there
that's
is
the word.
informal.
We didn't
use.
get that last time.
Yeah.
Informal. Well, informal. Do we have that proof of that?
I'm sorry, Kate, I'm sorry, I missed a part because of them, I'm so sorry.
Right, so I was reading through the questions. So proposed action may result in the loss of a current or future recreational resource. Then there's another question that says proposed action may result in the loss of an area now used informally by the community as an open space resource and.
The community has expressed that they do use.
Yeah, anecdotally, they say that they,
Yeah,
I mean, it's not proven, but, it's,
So I mean, I think you should acknowledge that it is being used
Yeah,
informally by the
yes.
community, and then you'll have to identify whether. This loss is going to be a significant impact or
Right.
other nearby community resources that can be used
Yes,
for recreational.
Have a park right. Okay, that, the word informally, we didn't have last night,
right.
right? We didn't hear that.
So you said there's a park nearby.
Yeah, the park is, of course, yeah, across the street.
Oh, right, and then,
The designated park for.
But is that, I can't recall whether that's big enough for a ball field. I don't know, I know there's, playground for little kids, but I don't know how far that extends.
We also heard from the public tonight, they're expanding that park. I don't know.
Yeah, they're not, right, they do.
Yeah, I don't
There are-
know those
There are
plans.
city plans to do that. The mayor's not gonna do that. So that one was summarizing the one.
You guys tell me, no or small, moderate to large,
To which question we talking
the
about?
informal usage.
That's a yes.
They-
Yeah,
model-
yeah.
Oh, small.
The informal, you should be small, cause it's informal, I mean.
No, it's informal use.
They do have a park there, have you? Have any?
Yeah, no, I've spent,
Okay, so they do, in other words, the designated use of recreation workers, I think that's why they built that.
Go with your kids there, should bring.
But, you know, for them to go over there, a lot of times, isn't that,
But they were a
isn't
little.
that flooded over there? Oh, the grass, what goes on?
So if you do the range, so the range would be small to moderate.
Is the grass grow high? It's Mill Street Park. It's called Mill Street Park.
Charles, thank you so much. Okay, so 12, impact on critical environmental areas. It's not within a CEA, that's made by the state, we can skip that. Okay, impact on transportation, and I'm gonna hand this one off to Christian and the one that,
We have 5 more after that. Impact on transportation, the proposed action may result in a change to existing transportation systems. You check this one. There's gonna be a change.
I'm saying, no.
Right,
Yes.
yeah. Because that's when the question came up about the bus route, that would be to go back and forth.
But we're adding, we're not changing, we're adding.
Check no.
yeah, you said.
New transportation options.
But
So if you can get right now, what do they have?
We can go through each one and decide. Let's just say yes and we'll go through each one.
Yeah.
No, I said no. I did.
The board agreed no last time.
Yeah, it's no.
Well, you weren't here. Well, we agree, no, then.
Yeah, I don't say
Does it have to
changes.
be phones? Do you want me to read you what the question is asking?
No, no, I mean, we gotta move forward.
I know, we're, okay.
Right, that's what he said. Last time we checked.
Okay, so new development can generate or change traffic, create new demand for public transportation, several potential adverse impacts can result when traffic levels increase. More traffic can lead to congestion, which may in turn have economic, environmental, safety impacts. Not only annoying to motorists, increased economic costs because of extra fuel use, lost productivity, time wasted, higher air pollution emissions, increased traffic accidents, decreased accessibility to economic centers, etc. So in answering the questions, you should evaluate whether there'll be any impact. They do provide guidance to help determine if a substantial increase in traffic is likely to occur as a result of the activity. If the project generates fewer than 100 peak hour vehicle trips, it's likely not to result in any significant increases in traffic.
What's the traffic?
100 within what period of time?
A peak hour, so whatever the peak
Within
hour
a
is.
24-hour,
No, every
hour.
community has a peak
so
hour.
those 2 peaks.
So our estimated peak hour traffic generation total entering plus exiting volumes is 40 trips.
So I think that's why we checked it out once.
Yeah.
So, no, yeah.
I think that's what we put over last.
And if you go through the comments, they're all gonna be a no or a small.
And that was between the 4 and the 6, you know.
Yes, Dr. Young.
And that was between that 4 to 6 time period and that
Yeah,
11.
you know, 1 hour.
Okay.
Okay, so.
Next.
Impacts on energy. The proposed action may cause or increase the use of any form of energy, like electric, water, you know, that kind of stuff. So they would check yes on that, and go through each one. The proposed action require newer or an upgrade to an existing substation. There's no substation proposed, so that's a no. The proposed action will require the creation of existing or extension of an energy transmission or supply system to serve more than 500 single or 2-family residents. Again, we checked no for that one last time. The proposed action may utilize more than 2,500 megawatt hours per year of electricity. You guys checked no for that last time. The proposed action may involve heating and or cooling of more than 100,000 square feet of building area when completed. And you guys checked no for that last time.
And there wasn't a geothermal feature to what we're doing.
Yeah, this will be geothermal heating.
Okay.
You need a fun one.
Any more?
Oh, yeah. Okay, 15, impact on noise, odor, and light. So the proposed action may result in an increase in noise, odors, or outdoor lighting. So gonna go back to the seeker guidelines for a moment. Noise is defined as any loud, discordant, or disagreeable sound or sounds. In an environmental context, it's simply unwanted sound. When land adjoining an existing or proposed facility containing residential, commercial, institutional, or recreational uses, noise is likely to be a matter of concern to those. So, sources of noise can come from things like processor operations, transportation of products, materials, waste, noise generating equipment. So here the noise is generally talking about, humming,
Operation.
sounds,
But not construction?
Well, and definitely construction.
Okay.
Definitely construction. So 1, proposed action may produce sound above noise levels established by local regulation. So that would violate the noise code.
So you're, in your building, you would only be building, like, what are the hours that would typically be that you would be building?
Construction,
Yeah, construction.
I haven't looked at the work hours allowable under code,
But they would be within code, you know, it wouldn't go past 10
wouldn't be
p.m.
outside of
It would
code.
start after 7.
Probably not at dark. Not really.
Yeah, I mean, especially in winter, but even in the summer, probably 5 o'clock is when we're going to wrap up.
Okay.
I'm sorry, can I just back up a second? On the geothermal, have you guys assessed how deep you're gonna go? Like, I know it can be up to 400 feet. Have you guys assessed in that site how deep you're gonna have to go?
Yeah, it doesn't depend on the site, how deep we have to go. The site, we do, it's not the static load test, I forget the name of the test. We'll do a test well eventually when we're finalizing.
Oh, so you don't know now how deep you're
But
gonna
the depth will be just shy of 500 feet. So it's about 400. And then on test well, we'll just determine how many wells we actually have to do.
go? And you know how many holes you're gonna?
It won't be any laterals, it's all vertical.
No, but I mean, you have to do 20 feet apart, correct?
Yeah, I think it's 20 feet on center, 10-foot offset.
So do you know how many of those?
Don't have the exact number, that hasn't been finally designed, but it'll all be under the parking area. Maybe some around the buildings, but most of it will be under the parking.
And who oversees that? The Department of?
The install of it?
They, once it's done, you get the approval.
Well,
Right.
So we have a building permit and then we have to commission all of this. We have a third party inspector from the state, we have our mechanical engineer. And we have our the energy consultant.
So following the requirements of the state will definitely.
There's more inspectors than I care to make that would be inspections.
Okay, so proposed action is produce sound levels above, local regulation.
No.
Okay, the proposed action may result in blasting within 1,500 feet of a
You're not
residence.
doing any blasting.
Previously checked, no. Proposed action may result in routine odors for more than 4 hours a day. Previously, no. Proposed action,
Where would odors come from?
let's say it was a pickle factory or
Okay.
a wastewater treatment plant that was being constructed near someone's home. Proposed action may result in light shining onto adjoining properties. It was previously checked and were small.
Because they said they're gonna work here with they have.
Well, we provided a lighting plan,
Right.
It shows that we're.
Proposed action may result in lighting creating sky glow brighter than existing air conditions, previously checked and were small. Other impacts, temporary noise during construction, checked and were small. Questions on those? No. 16, impact on human health. Proposed action may have an impact on human health from exposure to new or existing sources of contaminants. Previously checked, no. Consistency with community plans. This is a double negative. The proposed action is not consistent with adopted land use plans.
What is that?
With adopted land use plans, and so that is checked, no.
He's consistent with the.
It's great to see lawyers like this do this, because that's what goes on in our heads too.
I don't know why they switched the manner of asking the questions almost at the end of the forum. So the question asked, is the proposed action consistent with the community plans? You previously identified that it was consistent
With community plans.
with the community's land use plans. So the zoning law, the comprehensive
Okay,
plan.
that's where we get that from, yeah.
And you say no?
No, we said.
Well,
we said yes,
it's a
right?
double negative, so no means yes.
No means.
And yeah, because I was dealing
Right.
with the comprehensive plan calls
Right.
for additional housing and.
Okay, so then the next question is consistency with community character. The proposed project is inconsistent with the existing community character. And you previously checked no, meaning that it is consistent with the existing community character.
Because I think we were ascertaining the character of Hudson and are we supposed to just do that block?
Yeah, we should communicate, because there was a high rise and very dense.
Right,
Uh,
so, yeah, we're gonna incorporate the high rise and,
Yeah,
you know, everything around that lower part of Hudson.
I would disagree with that, and maybe even the minority, but I disagree with that answer.
Okay, I mean, this is, you were not here and, you were not here.
but because you're basing that, when we talk about community character, I usually talk about a couple of.
Yeah, we were talking about, right, that whole area and, you know, not just one block, but the little, the whole circle, which would include the house.
Right, that's what I'm saying, I think it will be consistent based on that criteria.
It would also include, what is that?
Probably.
Providence Hall, yeah.
Yeah.
So go ahead. So we said.
So, do you want me to, do you want to leave it?
Yeah.
Everybody good?
Call the questions.
That's it.
Those are the questions. You know, you previously received, narratives pointing to places in the record. Based on the way that you answered the question last time. So, there's a resolution, if you're ready to vote, to adopt a negative declaration.
So
Then I,
I made some, before we vote, I made slight changes to what's in front of you
okay,
to address the impact on open space question. That wasn't previously in here, and I just want to make sure that the board knows what they're voting on when they vote. What I added is in impact on open space recreation. However, informal recreational use of the law has occurred. This will be offset by the continued use of the Charles Williams Memorial Park and the proposed park expansion across the streets. I don't know, if anyone wants to change the wording.
I wouldn't say offset,
I feel like this, you know, a lot of the comments talked about the flooding and the construction, all of that. But I feel like if the applicant feels that they can build this building correctly, and obviously they wouldn't want to build it wrong, so they would flood and damage their own multi-million-dollar investment. That those would be mitigated. And maybe presumably even better. On the other hand, I do feel this, the street is narrow and maybe, you know, that can be addressed in a different way. But, that's a little bit of a red flag. But environmentally, I feel like you guys have done projects like this before. You've demonstrated a level of competency to be able to execute your plan. And if you don't, obviously, you know, there's several legal mechanisms, you know, to hold you to task. So when I think about it, again, there are substantial issues, but I do feel they are mitigated in most cases. That's my personal opinion. In terms of seeking.
Yeah.
And the questions that we've got.
And then the one other change, impact to energy, the project will not result in any adverse environmental impact to energy uses, geothermal heat is proposed to heat the building.
okay, you know, we talked about those.
Yeah.
So can I get a motion to, what?
There's a resolution.
The motion to adopt,
You have to get into it.
can I get a motion to adopt the resolution? To provide a negative declaration for Middle Street.
My vote's a no.
Okay. I'm gonna go,
Oh, yes, I second that.
okay, you first, you first, okay, yeah, give me that name, you're gonna give it to me, and second,
I second.
okay, okay. And so it's an all in favor, I'm just gonna go around,
For the reason just I gave, like I said, I.
yes, you don't have to, just, yes, or no.
Yes, that's all I'd say, I vote
Yes,
for negative declaration.
okay, Jenny,
Negative.
Susan, Dr.
I'm gonna switch up this time and I'm gonna say. Okay.
Negative?
Yeah, good, negative.
Jean,
Yes.
negative, Teresa, negative,
So, I'm sorry, you're saying negative.
I mean, yes.
Yes. I'm sorry.
Sorry. Yes, yes, no, yes, yes, yes.
Susan, you voted yes to the resolution.
I voted
Yes.
declaration.
No, okay, so you voted no. Hold on.
And she voted no.
And
So it was I,
Yes.
nay,
No.
no, I.
you're I? Oh, you said
Yeah,
negative.
yes.
Yeah.
For the negative.
Yeah. Yes, for the negative.
Okay, we're tired.
So you had 5 yeses.
Why don't we just put.
One, two, three, four. Okay, yeah. For the negative.
Yay and nay, why don't we do yay?
No, I got it, so yay, yay, nay, yay, yay, yay.
Yes.
So it's 5-1. Okay, motion carries.
Okay, do I have to say all in favor? No.
You just did.
Okay.
Yes,
Okay,
was no.
so yes, we'll see you next week. You'll get the resolution.
So it's 5 to 1.
Right?
5 to 1, yeah.
And when you send it to me, send the first and the second, okay, so I don't have to try to find out so it's okay. All right, we'll send me who was over the last minute. Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you. Okay. I wanna thank the board for sitting through that, thank you for. Okay. Could I get a motion to open up the public hearing for? Excuse me, can I get a motion to open the public hearing for North Second Street Extension,
We have to
please?
close that meeting.
No, we didn't close it, oh,
Hearing
can I, yeah, do I get a motion to continue the public hearing? Okay, no, oh, yeah, we did that. And then we went to people, we closed it. Public saying, okay, so can I get a motion to open up the public hearing for North Second Street, which is the H Hudson IDA?
I make a motion.
First, second, all in favor?
Sure.
Charlie, you here? Yeah, you can. He had stuff to submit, but,
Yeah, I apologize, let me talk because I want to get this out of here.
go ahead.
I apologize for getting this late, getting this in late because it took me some time to get the City of Hudson Representative Rob Perry and the Columbia Land Conservancy representative together to determine our final survey of this line for the City of Hudson's parcel. This blue line now
It's what's being sold.
is what's being sold to the City of Hudson by the Hudson
So
Industrial Development.
It increased.
It did, and the reason for that is because this is the edge of the woods, and they feel like there's some fill in there.
Okay.
So the City of Hudson's gonna own what's in blue. This orange line is shown on these maps is a 20-foot wide right of way that the City of Hudson will be subject to for access between these two parts. This is where the bats are gonna go, by the way. Because it's right up from Mill Street.
Other people's houses.
So basically, these maps are completed. I didn't get them in 15 days ahead of time because I had trouble getting the parties together.
You can give them to us.
And I'll give them to you.
What are you doing, the land conservancy cutout? In addition, or that?
We're cutting out a piece. There you go.
Thank you.
We're cutting out a piece for the City of Hudson to keep.
Right.
from, so the Hudson Industrial Development Agency is gonna sell this parcel to the city of Hudson.
Right.
You know, it's like Hudson, selling Hudson.
I see, I see.
Yeah.
But giving up the land.
Anybody want a map?
Accepting this.
Yeah, probably do.
That's too much.
And the rest of it is gonna go to the Columbia Land Conservancy.
Right.
And this is what I would,
It's too bad.
yeah, this is what I would,
Down to Jenny.
I have nothing against housing, but this is the non-housing application of the night right here.
Okay, good. So, can we get this one off our docket?
No, we didn't submit, I'm gonna look at.
Well, I mean, yes, we'll get it off at the next meeting, but we were not directed to prepare a resolution because it was not.
Yeah, right, so I didn't expect to get
Yeah,
it,
we're gonna do a sequel. Is that touch you?
It's a lot more.
yeah.
I don't.
And I got a question for you, Victoria.
Sure.
You're gonna wanna, review a proposed deed.
Yeah, well, you know, there's so many other people involved in this.
Yeah, that was my question. Who's gonna do it, you know, so it'll be, you know, Chris is. Okay, gotcha, gotcha.
So we classified this as type 2 back in July. We don't need to do anything else.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, ready to approve it when you're ready.
I mean, are we ready to approve this?
Not sure.
And
Yeah, then you can make a motion to approve it, condition down, you know.
On the resolution.
Payment on fees and.
Yeah, well, you have all the fees.
I wanna raise a motion to approve this, project,
Well, let's close the public hearing first.
oh, okay.
If you're gonna do that.
Any questions from, wait a minute, any questions from the board?
Well, let's see if anyone's here to speak about it. Yeah.
Well, he's the only one here to speak about it. So any questions from the board? Any questions from the public? Any questions from Zoom?
Your question?
Brandon, any questions from Zoom?
No, there's only two people, just Linda and Abe, so.
Okay, so there's no questions from the public, no questions from the board on this particular project. So could I get a motion to close the public hearing? For
I
this,
make
okay,
second.
okay. Now, could I get a motion to approve the resolution to approve this project?
I make a motion.
Yes.
Well,
Thank you.
subjects.
With the conditions.
Okay.
Subject to fees and fees and ask.
Subject to payment fees, let's go.
Subject to-
Okay, so that's gonna be Susan and Jean, okay, good.
And then what was
Susan
the
and Jean,
conditions?
so when you send me that motion, please give me the second.
By motion, so I don't have- we don't it. No, it's by motion.
I think we should do a resolution.
What the other conditions?
Let's do a resolution with condition. We're gonna cancel that.
You already voted, that's right.
What do we vote? Yeah.
Yeah, we'll just write it up exactly what you said.
A resolution of something, because I want resolutions on everything, so when I paperwork following what was
Right,
done.
right.
Yeah, that's.
Okay. That's what I meant, even though I said motion, I meant resolution, you don't mind that, do you?
I didn't even hear what you said.
So we're gonna do a resolution to approve this with the, right,
Condition,
condition, right, exactly.
So the
So
condition of fees is,
Again,
No.
yeah, I gave, I already submitted $1,500 escrow.
Just write out the condition. That's fine. You don't really.
Technically.
Check the balance when you go to get the fancy.
Gotcha.
If we have a cigarette, say that. We don't know what's happening.
and are these it? These are final plan?
Well, I mean, she's asking about signature. Can you just can you just stamp it like Dave always does?
There's no problem.
The owner, doesn't the county require the owner, does it ask the county?
The county does not require the owner to sign it. And your signature stamp is about that big, can you just find a spot on the map?
Yeah.
So I don't.
Okay, yeah, it's fine.
Thank you.
He's gonna have to, do you have to submit a Mylar or the county?
No. The Columbia County does not require a mileage, two copies.
All right. So that's,
It's got nothing to do with
so we close the public hearing on you and we voted to approve. And,
Thank you very much.
hurry up and sell the property and.
Yeah, so I didn't put it on the portal, I'll put it on tomorrow, so you have it electronically.
Okay,
And, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, have a good
All
night.
right, so we got, yes, we did. We voted. Yes, we did. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Any disapprove? Okay. So we approve this, we approve. Wow. We close the hearing.
How many more minutes are we gonna be here? We have.
Until we finish. So we have a new application, so. You know, I apologize to you guys, but this is just the way it is.
We were supposed to.
We did have 2 months for this month, but I didn't know it would take this long. No, I did not. I didn't, I had no idea. Okay, so now, we have new business. Thank you, Jim. Okay, are we finished with finished with all the applications? Okay, so now we're going to new business, which is 724-726 Columbia Street. And the first question I want to ask is, are you a return brewer or not?
No,
So,
I can explain that.
yeah, explain that, because when you were here before, it was phase 1 and that other part was supposed to be phase 2, am I right or wrong?
I wasn't involved, I didn't do any legal work for the return brewers.
Oh,
I don't
so
know.
they're no longer part of that second phase.
Right,
They're
so-
just gonna keep what they got, not going back into the building.
That's my understanding. That's accurate.
So does it have to do with?
Yeah, you're the problem. You can't even say what you see.
Yes.
I know, but see, they were here before, the return.
They're not return brewing, they're a completely separate entity that's gonna lease the building. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Right.
Who's gonna lease the building from whoever owns return brewing.
No, they own the building.
I might be able to rectify all.
Go ahead.
Yes,
Because,
please.
my
Let him
confusion is
speak
because,
first.
let me finish, my confusion is because when the return brewing was leasing from Galvin, they leased the entire building and they had it into 2 phases. They had the first phase, which was on Columbia and 7th, and then they were coming back with the second phase for the rest of the building, which was going to be a brewery. Correct me if I'm wrong. So now I'm seeing a new application, so I'm like, well, what happened to that? That's the question.
So, and I think we discussed this with Craig a little bit also.
Right,
Yeah, so the existing building, let me start there. There's an existing building on the property that's 17,525 square feet.
Right.
Return Brewery, who is a tenant of the property owner Galvin Initiatives Foundation, occupies 7,675 square feet for their brewery. Now, there might have been a phase 2 of that for the vacant space, and that's why I wasn't at the meeting. Jen, correct me if I'm wrong, if it wasn't you, but someone met with Craig, and Craig said this has to be treated as an amended site plan application for the entire property, which leads me to believe that there might have been a phase 2 that's now being amended.
But if you're not the same owner, how did that happen?
Galvin Initiatives owns the entire property.
They were always.
Oh, the lease, okay, it was the leasee.
Yep.
That was asking for the phase 2.
Yes, I imagine.
Okay,
that's
so
correct.
they're not gonna do phase 2.
Correct.
This has
So why
to
would
be a
this
new
be a
application.
why would it be a
You're a
process?
separate
We're
entity than the
We're
leasing.
amending a plan that was previously approved. The previously approved plan called for build out of return brewery, and you're amending it for a whole new concept. So it's an amendment of the site plan property.
But can we
Same
amend
owner,
something?
Like a new, no.
same owner, different tenant.
No, so let me.
Yes, to
Yeah.
to that portion of the building.
Yeah,
Yes.
see, the original tenant came to do the whole building and phase, in 2 phases. Now we're getting the owner is saying, well, this tenant's not gonna do it. I don't understand why it's not a new application, that's all.
I don't understand it either. Like you are a different entity.
That's right, and you're doing something different from what they want.
Okay, the way site plan works, the site plan is issued for a property, right? It has to build out of the property.
Okay.
So right now, there's a site plan for the property, but it contemplates a particular use with maybe a particular outdoor seating, particular entrance. So
That was phase 1.
So it doesn't matter who the tenant is, really, it matters what the use is. of the
I understand.
property. So it's an amendment to an existing site plan, because they're proposing something different than what previously approved.
Right, so if they lease it to someone else, then they can still come before us under this amended site plan application.
They can amend it again, or something, if they wanna turn it into a daycare, they come in for an amendment for daycare.
I got it.
What they never submitted the first one. You guys.
Well, we're just professionals working for the same thing, so.
Same landlord, but not the tenant.
And it has a lot of different uses, same owner, different uses. So you did a site plan saying you can have a restaurant here and that's it.
Right.
So they're amending that site plan to say, yeah, that restaurant's here, we wanna do something else.
But irrespective of the ownership of the.
Correct, it was the same.
And I'm just stuck on amendment to new, that's all. So
It's
it's
the
not.
same process, but
so it's
it
amended.
acknowledges that there's something that we've already approved that's now changing.
Right, okay.
Okay.
And actually, one of the reasons we're here is to give preliminary comments. And so what we can do is when we submit, responses to comments, we can dig in a little deeper to the return brewery approvals and explain it a little better.
Just, add it to your narrative, or maybe and that will help there.
Yeah, absolutely. So the existing building, 17,525 square feet, return brewery occupies 7,675 square feet. The vacant area where Chad is pointing to. Right.
There's that, there's vacant patched in.
Gotcha. So the vacant space is approximately 9,850 square feet. So Galvin Initiatives Foundation is now seeking to utilize that space for a theater, assembly hall, and restaurant. The idea being that it can be leased out to specific tenants for theater events, local theater, for banquets, and there would be restaurant space in there and a bar area to service those events.
Can you follow through the floor plan? Because I looked at it and I couldn't figure out where the restaurant was going to be.
Well, we're here to talk about a site plan, and so we're not presenting the interior floor plan, because that's typically something that's run by the code enforcement officer.
Okay, because I saw other things.
Those kinds of
What's that?
doors.
Yes,
I
okay,
mean, those are all relevant to like work.
I agree, we can show where the exterior doors are, where the egress are, and we plan to with our.
You wanna, you plan to divide that entire space into two?
So right now, so there's 9,850 square feet of vacant space.
Right.
4,000 square feet of that approximately would be theater and assembly hall. 2,000 square feet of that would be bar restaurant to service the assembly hall theater events.
Okay.
And the other three, and you got 3 more thousand to go.
Well, unfortunately, our architect, Walter Chatham, he had to leave for the evening. But what I plan on doing is, excellent question. We can approach it. I imagine it's storage, mechanicals, and so forth. So,
Do you have an estimate of the occupancy that you're going to try to apply for?
I do, yeah, so it is expected that for any given event, and it's hard to tell, right, because we don't know what the events might be. It might be, a small party, it might be a theater or a theater project or a theater. It's expected to be up between 120 and 150 people.
So
With 20 to 25 employees to work during those events.
So it'll say like maximum. How many people?
So I think the maximum occupancy, Walter told me, was designed to be 300, right around 300, and that's on an incredibly high, not expected.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Now. You're the owner of this property was in front of the board within half for the theater on Columbia instead.
Before.
And which we gave them, approved a resolution, but we never stamped plans because we didn't see the final. So are they abandoning that?
So we have Joshua Moon here from Galvin Initiatives Foundation. Do you know anything about the plan for the Hudson Forum?
The Columbia Street.
I do not intend to abandon that project.
But that's gonna be a theater also, right? now you. Okay. Huh? I don't have an explanation. Maybe they're perfect. We'll figure that out, right? But I know.
Are you gonna provide some sort of parking? Dedicated for customers, because that obviously between Depot, Upper Depot, Return District, potentially Forum. You know, it's a very tight and has the possibility of being a very congested space.
Sure.
So how do you guys gonna address that?
So one of the things I'm gonna discuss today, so this is actually a secret type 2 action. So secret tells us that when you are renovating a vacant non-residential building. And you're developing less than 4,000 new square feet of floor area, then there's no secret review. So as I've said to this board previously, the zoning code does not require any off-street parking. This board has previously stated that it has the authority to do so under secret. We had this discussion during the Depot district. We met at a compromise there, but here there's no secret review.
But you're building.
So did you leave the extra space out because of that?
Say that again?
Did you leave the
How
extra?
much space is in the building?
9.
Okay.
So it was
In the space that's being rehabbed?
9,800.
So did you just choose this number to avoid security?
Well, no, it's an existing building, so if we renovate the existing building, we're not creating any new floor area.
I am just saying by new,
If we were adding new floor area, right, if we were building onto the building a little bit more, we could still go up to 3,999 more square feet. It's to avoid. It would still be a secret type 2 action.
but that other space wasn't accounted for in the initial, in the initial approval.
So let me put it this way, no matter.
The return brewery, that space was not, accounted for with any particular purpose.
So let me put it this way, it was for return brewery as well, which I imagine was a secret type 2 action. Is you're renovating and reusing an existing structure for non-residential purposes. When you are doing that, that is always a type 2 action under secret. And so to answer your question, there is no off-street parking.
We could look at that.
Now, I will say,
Do that, okay?
well, I will say, knowing this board now for a while,
Yes.
we have retained Creighton Manning to assess traffic and parking.
Well, thank you for saying that, that you understand the board.
Can you please include the impact of 735?
735,
Cool that.
what's that?
Cool that.
Yep.
Right,
Yeah, and we
that's-
actually-
That's right across the street from you, right? Almost.
Where are you anticipating that these people would follow? With your guys?
Well, so it would be anticipated that they would find parking on the street, find it in municipal lots, a walk. We're talking.
Yeah.
They're not far from community.
And that's well, for what? Excuse me, I'm just.
Very close to that lot right there, they have. Yeah, but that doesn't have 300 spaces, it doesn't even have.
I mean,
100
right,
spaces.
you're doing a 9.
How many spaces is the municipal lot?
I mean, I don't think that most events are going to use all of it, but also, I agree the city needs to find more parking. Because to be consistent with the zoning law, but it's the city's responsibility and not the others.
You're not gonna get much from us. You actually bring the.
So is there any long-term tenant plan for this space, or is it just rented out function by function?
Josh, do you know if there's a, come on up.
So it's probably most likely.
And Joshua, I'm sorry.
Joshua Moon, Galvanizations Foundation. Like you said, we.
What's your title?
Project coordinator.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry. Yeah, so we would operate this sort of internally under a different branch of our organization that is more focused in the arts. Arts. Things of that nature.
Do you
And it
see-
also could be rented out as well.
Do you see occasions where the forum will be operated simultaneously to this new theater or restaurant complex?
Not necessarily in terms of the performance arts.
Or just a bet, like a bet, would something would happen in the forum and happen in this new space?
I guess down the line, yes, you could say that.
And you're,
They're two different.
no, I understand it, but they've been granted, and your capacity there as well.
Say it again, sorry.
The capacity, occupancy of the forum, has that been established yet? Of the old tennis club, yeah.
Not that I'm aware of. I haven't really been involved in the discussions around that project.
Because I think it's a couple hundred people.
I can get that answer.
Okay. Because then presumably you'd have upwards of 500 people in that area.
Right, but also at the same time, it's a little bit self-limiting, right? If I go to a show and I can't find a space, maybe I'm not going. So, you know, it is also a risk that the applicant is taking, they may not be able to fill their seats every time. Yeah. Knowing
It's on the internet.
in here.
The internet.
But it does have an impact in like, you know, again, but Upper Depot, that, you know, people coming and living there, I mean, even if they're private, had to get out of there.
That's what.
I mean, you're potentially talking about a huge saturation of vehicles.
What you there, your thoughts on it?
Yeah,
And plus 735, if they're like,
sure.
So, I mean, we plan to show, that we have adequate fire apparatus access to this event space, you know, that absolutely is going to be a condition.
The first thing I want to say is I really don't understand what you're gonna do here. You've got, what did you say? You had 9,850 square feet, but you've only identified renovating 7, right?
Yeah, and we've lost Walter Chatham
Okay,
at some
so-
point.
so-
So
So I,
Oh, he is.
yeah, I think you need to come back, letting us know what you're doing with the entire space.
We have to give you a whole application.
Exactly.
We're here to just start.
I am here if I can answer any questions.
There's no, I know, Walter, but can we just do this next week, next month?
Well, let them speak it up. Yeah, Walter.
Yeah, hi.
Walter, the question is the breakdown of the internal square footage and operation internally.
So it's roughly 9,000 feet total. I don't have,
9,850.
yes, I don't have the exact dimensions in front of me, but I'm going to say that a third of that would be the theater. A third of that would be the area in the front that we're calling a lobby, and that would also have a food service. And then roughly a third would be back of the house for storage of sets, actors, dressing rooms, a lounge, an office for the theater, and a costume shop.
That's the 1%. So that's developing the entire 9,850 square feet. Right.
Yes.
And when, and so you anticipate by our next meeting that you'll have an application and you go.
Yeah, we wanted to get, like I said, kind of a sketch plan review, preliminary comments. I had my magic 8 ball and I figured parking was gonna come up.
Yes.
So we actually had Mark.
Where you putting them, so is this just gonna be spaces that you build to rent out, but not, you're not coming to us with spaces that, you're coming to us to develop spaces for rent, for somebody else to own or to rent.
For like whoever's going to have an event.
Right, so
Correct.
yeah, you're not gonna be doing, you're not gonna be hosting events there.
So when there's.
You're not gonna have a restaurant.
I think that's happening.
Right, they're
Correct.
just gonna develop it for others to rent.
Well, but they're gonna be operator of the space, and in that operation, you're gonna rent it out to various groups that use it.
That's the theater part.
For the theater part, like essentially it's gonna be operated internally, but it's also personal in the event that someone would like to rent it out, that option is available.
So what are you gonna do with the one across the street, which is on the corner of 7?
Yes, we talked about.
We'll give you an update on where that stands.
Yeah, I would like to kind of know that, you know. now.
Yeah, the coordination between the two.
Right, because I mean, one of the right proceed for one another. Maybe, yeah. One block.
There we go, master plan.
And obviously you're gonna put in, you know, sufficient bathrooms and, you know, chemicals for.
Oh, yeah, we're gonna comply with the uniform code, you know, that is traditionally something we can do with the building permit stage. You know, we're here to talk about the site plan, but yeah, I'm done.
You wanna run through the same thing?
Yeah, I mean, there is one feature, I know we're late and I don't wanna, you know, tire everyone out too much, but there's one part about this, which is, so Long Alley. Right now, folks kind of turn right here to get back onto Columbia a little more perpendicular. This is kind of how the traffic currently is. In the course of doing the survey, we found that actually the traffic that the public has been using crosses over land owned by our client. So what we're trying to do here is continue directing the traffic so it's still perpendicular to Columbia. That makes it safer for turning out onto Columbia. And then block off kind of this part that legally is the entrance to Long Alley, but isn't actually used by most vehicles. Does that make sense?
Okay, the side is 7th Street.
Yeah, here,
Let's
bring it up just a little bit closer. So this
That's-
triangle right here is technically owned by my client.
Okay, what's on the side?
This is Long Alley.
Okay, and the side is 7th Street, right over there, right?
This is C.
No, this way.
Yes,
Right.
okay, I put it
Side.
Right, and so right now.
That's long.
People kind of go like. Yeah, so they kind of go like this.
That's
and
because
they,
nothing
you know,
is there. Right.
That's
In other
what
words, that
Is that is private property?
I'm trying to say, we're trying to make the real property agreements match what's actually being done in practice.
I don't really think you can use Long Alley. I think there's a curve on the end of it. And it's, you know, real curve.
Yeah, there is a kind of parking spaces
I mean,
all along there.
you're required to bend the street. I think there's a lot of paperwork, but I also feel that this solution is the best design from a safety perspective. Anyway, it is already what the traffic is doing. It creates a more perpendicular entrance on the Columbia, which is safer than having a really sharp turn.
So you're saying once you build and develop, people are still gonna be able to use Long Island?
Correct.
Yes.
But
I can't see that.
But they have extend Long Alley with their own property.
that isn't pre-planning scope, because I'm just curious, really, like real world, how many cars are actually long enough?
That's true. Right, I don't think it's a.
To them from the traffic analysis, first time folks.
This is your land.
So they own this whole triangle, and so the traffic currently comes from Long Alley and goes like that. So what we wanna do is allow the traffic to continue to go through, and then there, and then we just kind of do some streetscaping and then.
But you're saying the city, the city has an easement to use this.
Yeah.
It's
It's a street.
That's what I was saying.
Right.
And I think from a paperwork perspective. it
She
is
said that they own.
complicated, But it is the better.
What is a
design.
street? I don't understand that. Because if they come where their entrances facing Columbia, if you come right out that entrance, you're on that street called Long. I just never noticed anybody use it, but that's all.
No, I know.
That's
He said they use it.
So in this, we have.
Way back, we use that, so we have. You're born and raised in that street, plenty of times. I mean, we're blockless here.
Okay. You would know that, right? Okay, well. Okay, such a street.
And then is the gas station right here.
The gas station
It's on that side.
Oh, okay, so this is different turn, this thing.
Kind of put like this, so that they, we're trying to see that. Right now, it's all sense, honestly.
I can't see it.
Yeah, but. And are you trying to merge, what would you do with the triangle? Well, it looks like, the circle is a tree in this little part, about some $3 proposed here, I think it'd be better if all of them could explain.
But don't you have permission to walk that street on the road?
We're asking.
Not from us, no. Well, when you get it.
I agree.
Yeah, you have, yeah.
We need to review it all.
Right. But it's, there is no secret review.
I think there are some complicated.
Yeah.
Property agreements, but at the end of the day, what we're trying to do is make it what is the most big, kind of the better action practical solution, it's like a land property. Right. It includes the secret,
And I think your application is rejected, because I think, could you update the application for a permit on the website, please?
The one that we got from Craig?
Yes, because
Okay.
it's illegible now, and
Sure.
I couldn't read that, and we couldn't make it, we just couldn't make that out at all. So you need to update that, so I can find out, because, my conversation with Craig is that he rejected this.
Well, he has to reject it. It's on the checklist to appear in front of you. Yeah. Teresa, go.
Okay.
So that was the main thing I wanted to kind of, this really unique part that I wanted to talk you through, and we can come back with more info, we're all kind of tired.
Your legal theory is,
What are you?
because you already got approved that.
We should be back to
That any application
Have the approval?
for use in that additional space is
No, listen,
exempted from any.
I wanna get,
No, it's, and I'll add it to our narrative, but anytime you have the existing, whether it's non-conforming, whatever the case.
Okay,
is,
you know what we're
you're
gonna do?
using that, the secret type 2 section applies. And because you're reusing essentially, let's say, a blighted piece of property, and you're renovating it, the state wants you to kind of go through that process quickly. And they want
So
you,
regardless of what the use is, you're saying, is
well, yes,
Be permitted,
right.
it has to be a permitted use in the zoning district, and it can't exceed some of the other type 1 thresholds. So even if it were a permitted use, but it's creating a very big, like a Walmart with a parking lot, then it's still gonna get secret.
okay, I wanna get a motion to set this one tonight for them, because you did submit information that was reviewed.
Say that again?
I wanna get a motion to set escrow.
Okay.
Okay, because you did submit information that was reviewed by our consultant and attorney,
Appreciate it.
and, you said you're coming back next month, so we want to be sure. So can I get a motion to set the escrow for, 724-726 Columbia Street in the amount of. Give me Christian, what type of thing are you gonna say? What?
I don't.
No. Make it 10. Okay, $10,000. $10,000? Right, you get it back if you know.
Sure, and so just to recap.
Okay, who first?
Are you making a motion?
Second, yeah, we made a motion.
Teresa, a motion.
He said.
Yeah, I made the motion. Yeah.
And she's second. All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, so you'll keep the resolution, I apologize for you, but it is 10:30.
No, I can understand. This is actually early for me for planning board meetings, so.
Okay, so.
So we're gonna send you a
Traffic,
resolution.
parking, operational questions, road access questions.
Is this the one that had the?
But we do wanna know what you're gonna do. Come back to clarity as to
Yep,
how
full narrative.
the whole space is gonna be used, okay? Please.
Understood. Thank you, everyone, for hearing us. I know it's late.
Okay, thank you so much. Have a good evening.
It's nice to meet you all.
Yes, you too.
Thank you for your time.
All right, we're gonna go over the bills.
I'm gonna excuse myself, I'm having enough, people to vote.
Okay, guys, I understand. You don't need to be here for this. Go ahead. Oh, we're gonna need a resolution to,
601 Union replenishment.
Yeah, I did.
and we said what?
Oh, wait, but we need to vote, well, vote quickly on the now.
Okay, a resolution to,
Motion.
a motion to, a resolution.
All the bills,
We don't have a resolution in front of you, so it's a motion.
all the bills submitted are.
I make a motion to pay the bills. That's
Pay the bills, well, 601 Union is short 1360.
Yeah, this is for, yeah.
64. So the motion is going to be replenish the escrow for 5,000.
I make that motion.
Wait, I'm not. I'm sorry, I don't know if we need 5,000, that project's over.
No, they're still in, yeah, so.
I gotta teach him how to restore.
Okay, fine, then great, don't interrupt you.
Yeah, second, first and second,
Yes.
okay? I hope they are.
Okay,
I
Okay.
understand on the,
I'm
on
looking
the,
to approve the bill.
on the bills.
yeah,
Motion.
Okay.
I second.
Second, all in favor? And, that's it, that's it.
I make a motion, to adjourn.
Adjourn.
Approve the minutes from,
Oh, and a motion to approve all of the minutes, I gave you all the updates on.
The June ones. Cause I wasn't at June and I wasn't at the special meeting.
I hate the quorum.
Well, I make a motion to approve the.
We don't have a form.
Well,
So,
we'll have a,
Okay, you said.
you can do the other ones,
yeah,
but I can't do those two.
Okay, which ones you can do?
all
I
right.
can't do the June meeting and the special meeting on the 20th.
June and,
August, 20.
okay.
Apologies.
So can I get a motion to approve the July, August the 13th meeting? Approved.
I make a motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Any opposed? Okay, can I get a motion to adjourn?
Adjourn, motion.
I second.
Adjourn at what time?
We adjourn at 10:27 p.m.
Did we beat all that?
Susan, thank you for saying.
No, I told these guys to go with the stand.